Good evening. It's 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, April 15th, 2026. Happy Tax Day, everyone. This is the regular meeting of the Sandpoint City Council, and it is now called to order in council chambers here at 1123 West Lake Street in Sandpoint, Idaho. For the record, I'm Mayor Jeremy Grimm presiding. Also present are City Council President Deb Rule, Councilor Joe Spiro. No, Joel is going to be a few minutes late. Excuse me. He just let us know that. Kyle Schreiber, Pam Duquette, Joe Tate, and Joshua Torres. Under the city's adopted code of ethics and civility, as the presiding officer, I'm to identify law enforcement personnel serving as Sergeant of Arms, and we have a few law enforcement personnel back there tonight. Tonight we have Police Chief Corey Kuhn and some other distinguished officers and staff members. Next, we'll just stand up and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, there's Councilman Joel. Let the record reflect that Councilman Spiro has arrived at 5:31. Next, for members of the public in attendance, if you wish to speak tonight during this evening's general public comment portion of the meeting, which will happen in a few minutes, please complete a sign-up form, hand it to staff at the back table. The forms are over to the right by the door. Please note that we only have one general comment time tonight following the announcements and reports. That's the only opportunity for the public comment regarding new and old business and consent calendar items. Other general matters not on the agenda that can be discussed, but they should pertain to the business of the city of Sandpoint. Before we really get going tonight, first I have a couple of proclamations. The first, we have a brief presentation by Susan for International Dark Sky Week. Hi, Susan. And Susan and her son, Suzanne, excuse me. Oh, Sue-Ann, sorry, you're right. Thanks for correcting me. Her son, Kodiak, have been, and Councilwoman Duquette and others have been really helpful in supporting this effort. And it is International Dark Sky Week. So for all of us who enjoy that and the awe and wonder of the universe that we see from here, Sue-Ann, please tell us what Kodiak was going to.
Well, you stole a lot of my stuff.
Oh, no.
And that's okay. It means you've got the message. So, hello, I'm Sue-Ann Ellis, and as Mayor Grimm already said, my son Kodiak, he's joining us remotely because this year he started college and he's down in Arizona. So it's not too easy for him to get here otherwise. Anyhow, for the past few years, I believe this will be the third year that he and I have been engaging here with you all for this proclamation, and we really appreciate that. And I would also like to formally thank you for the community, Mayor Grimm and council members, not only for recognizing the importance of dark skies through this proclamation, but this year is a little bit different with the announcement of the enforcement of the Sandpoint's dark sky friendly lighting ordinance, and that we consider as a big win. And a little bit of background who aren't quite so familiar with this. Already missed my slide, so thank you. So prior to the invention of electricity, we had a completely natural day and night cycle. But now with the advent of artificial light, that has disrupted that. Obviously, we as humans work off that circadian rhythm, but as do all living things, animals, plants, even microorganisms work off of that. And so one example of something we may not be aware of is the role that nighttime pollinators play. And then this is just one small example of the importance of dark skies is moths, bats, these things, they can get disoriented. And what's the big deal about that? Well, they take on the role of pollinating not just flowers and things that are pretty, but our crops. And that directly affects us in a negative way because we need the food that they pollinate. So this is just one of many, many reasons why dark sky lighting ordinances are helpful, not only to us as individuals, but in the broader sense in the community and the nation and the world. So last Friday, I led a workshop at the Homeschool Academy that was focusing on light pollution and citizen science, dark sky awareness, that type of thing. And as I was engaging with the community, it was very apparent that this enforcement of the city's lighting code is very welcomed. And many people, in fact, most people commented how, oh, the light trespass is one of their biggest issues. Here's our nighttime pollinators. Here's an example of light trespass. It can happen between homes. It can happen between home and business. It can also happen with street lights. And this is a very good example of what good shielded, fully shielded lighting can do. It provides the light where we need it to help us keep us safe, as well as not diminish the night sky or distract pollinators and everyone else that needs the dark to thrive. Anyhow, as I talk to more members within the community, their concerns help me realize how the strengths of our community lie in our neighborliness. And Sandpoint, with its small town feel, really exemplifies the neighborly spirit. Our community, examples of our community coming together in the past for civic actions has been opposing the smelter in Newport, opposing the asphalt plant in Sagal. These are all examples of quality of life concerns, as is dark sky friendly lighting. So I just want to emphasize how this ordinance isn't against lighting. It's about being a respectful neighbor. And of course, the ordinance spells these things out, but some of the 5 principles of responsible outdoor lighting, is it useful? Is it targeted? Is it the lowest level of intensity it can be for the situation needed? Can it be controlled, like on a timer or motion sensor? And the awareness of using warmer color temperatures instead of the bright white lights that are harsher on us and the pollinators, and as well as diminishing the dark night skies. So again, Sandpoint's dark sky friendly lighting ordinance emphasizes community and being a good neighbor. It's not about government oversight. It's a reminder of the pristine skies that our ancestors enjoyed and the legacy we can pass down to our future generations. And by choosing to use lighting responsibly, imagine what skies our children and grandchildren can inherit. So thank you for your continued support in this matter. And I invite you all to pick up flyers and such over there on the table regarding a variety of dark sky activities as well as information. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sue-Ann. And did Kodiak want to say something quickly, or is that later? Later, thank you. All right, well, appreciate your support and education and continued persistence on this. Next, I'm going to just read a proclamation, one of 2 that I'll be reading tonight. The first is, whereas the aesthetic beauty and wonder of the natural night sky is a public resource and shared heritage of all humankind, whereas the experience of standing beneath the starry night inspires feelings of wonder and awe and encourages a growing interest in science and nature, especially among young people and visitors to our North Idaho communities. Whereas light pollution disrupts ecosystems, impacts human health, wastes energy, and diminishes the beauty of the night sky. Whereas Idaho is home to dozens of nocturnal wildlife species that rely on undisturbed night environments to hunt, mate, and thrive. Whereas Dark Sky International, headquartered in Tucson, Arizona, has created International Dark Sky Week to raise awareness of light pollution and to encourage the protection and enjoyment of dark skies and responsible outdoor lighting. Now, therefore, I, Jeremy Grimm, Mayor of Sandpoint, Idaho, do hereby proclaim the week of April 13th through April 20th, 2026 is International Dark Sky Week in Sandpoint, and ask our residents to join me not only in observing and pondering upon this important week, but also raising awareness to reduce excessive outdoor lighting and increase protection for our precious dark sky resource. Proclaimed this 15th day of April, 2026. And let me just, Suanne, give you a copy of this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Appreciate it.
very much.
All
Thank
right.
you, Mayor Grimm,
Mhm.
and all the other Dark Sky supporters in the audience for continuing to support Idaho's natural nighttime beauty. I'm sorry I can't be there today in person. I'm studying astrophysics in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is actually the first of almost 300 now certified dark sky places. It's very different here from back home, the city, the climate, people are all a big change. But every night I can go outside and look up and I see the exact same stars as back home. I'm very glad that there's people in Sandpoint, in Flagstaff, and all over the world, really, who are working to make sure that all of us will get to see the exact same skies as our ancestors always have. Sorry. And I hope our descendants always will too.
Thanks, Kodiak. Appreciate your efforts in this, and good luck with your studies.
Thank you.
All right, moving along, I have one more proclamation, which is Arbor Day 2026. We have a very robust and passionate group of folks who both support our urban forest and the work that goes on to protect it. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. Whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heat and cooling costs, moderating the temperatures, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. Whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. Whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of businesses, and are beautiful and beautify our community. Now, therefore, I, Jeremy Grimm, Mayor of Sandpoint, Idaho, do hereby proclaim that Arbor Day 2026 will be celebrated and recognized in Sandpoint on April 25th with a community event and celebration. Great, thank you. Those are the proclamations for tonight. Thanks for bearing with me, folks, and thanks for your support. Moving right along. Now, moving just some quick announcements from the mayor. I've been away for 2.5 weeks. Just huge thanks to Council President Rule, council members, staff, legal, everyone who has kept the city running. My phone didn't ring for 2 weeks, and that's a testament to how well you all have this covered. So thank you so much. It's great to be back. I do want to make council aware of a ordinance and a code change that I'll be bringing forward for the second meeting in May. And that is an ordinance that will hopefully be passed to ban the sale of kratom in the city of Sandpoint. If you're not aware of what kratom is, I want to bring this to your attention because I want you to do a little research in the next couple weeks. The city of Kellogg just banned it. The sale. It is still legal to possess it in the state of Idaho. The legislature worked on a bill that would have prohibited possession in the state of Idaho. The research I've done and what I've learned is that this is uncontrolled effectively. There's synthetic versions, there's natural derivatives, but it's a chemical, a plant substance that can have very negative effects on people, and it's not well regulated or understood. It does allegedly provide some benefits to some folks, but please do your research. If you have a few minutes, look up kratom. I believe I'm saying it right. And I look forward to your support the second meeting in May for the prohibition of sale of kratom in Sandpoint. I did visit with one of the retailers that sells it yesterday. He was not offended if or too concerned if we were to prohibit the sale in the city. That's my only announcement. Council members, are there any other announcements or reports from the council? Starting down to the president role? No?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
Yeah, the Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee had its regularly scheduled meeting on April 9th. We heard a brief update from our representative on the Downtown Revitalization Technical Advisory Committee. We heard an update from our Wheels Working Group, who are taking a second look at the designated bike routes around town. And we also had a discussion about the RRFB flashing crossing on North Boyer near the airport. Apparently, it has been run over multiple times, which means it's not in the right place. So we discussed it, and the committee came to a recommendation of moving it about 300 feet north. So it'll still be there. It will get reinstalled just in a different location that's a little bit safer, better sight lines, not on a corner where a car could slide off and hit it. And hit the pedestrian standing at it, which is the bigger concern, obviously. Then we had a presentation by staff about bikeways and the different ways that folks around the country have made their cities more usable by bicycles. So no action on that one. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman Schreiber. Councilwoman Duquette, anything? Councilman Torres, Tate, Sparrow. Excellent. Moving right along, we'll just now yield the floor to staff. If there's any staff updates or reports, and council members, I sent you a notification yesterday. Hopefully you all got it. I'm going to be having staff reports go straight to the city clerk monthly and then distributed to yourselves, unadulterated by myself. And then we'll be making those available to the public without any sensitive information, so the public can see what's happening. I see the police chief. Come on up, Chief Kuhn.
I usually wait to go last, but since we have Officer Hopman and Hunter here, I thought we would bring it up. One of the things we're trying to do better is get our officers in front of the city council, and in this case, not only getting Officer Hopman in front of the council, but also his new partner, Hunter. Hunter's been with us for October 30th, just a few months. In case you guys are wondering, so he's our narcotics detection dog. He's a passive alert. They spend about how many hours? 150
hours.
Over 160 hours getting trained to get certified in the state of Idaho. So he's been certified. He's just under 2 years old, and he is a go dog. So when you look for really good detection dogs, you want them hyper. It's the ones that I won't say nobody wants, but it's the ones that are just go like that 2-year-old kid that just doesn't stop for his toys. So what I'd like to do, what do you want to say anything exciting?
It's
Here, come over here so
like
everybody can
it's
hear
like
you.
having a toddler at home. All he does is want to play and work. Those are the two things he wants to do, is play and work. It's like after I got him, it's like when I was a rookie cop, it's like taking a fire hose and it just all comes at you at once. And so I have to do 16 hours of training every month to keep updated with it. So I have to train for 4 hours a week pretty much with him. It's an awesome thing to have and a great asset for the city.
So we went for about 2 years without our last one since we retired. Some of the council may remember we retired our last one. We've been waiting for the funding to get a new one. We got that funding this budget cycle, so we've been able to bring back our canine program, which we're excited. What I would love to do is bring his wife and kids up, and anybody else that wants to get a photo op. And I say his wife and kids because I ran a dog years ago, and they become part of the family, and their spouses have to tolerate not only a handler, but also bringing home work often.
Chief, just to be clear, this dog lives with you?
Yeah.
24/7? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
The dog will spend more time with the handler than his family does. If you didn't notice, they're nodding yes. I know that was my wife's complaint when I was running dogs, like that dog spends more time with you than anybody else. I'm like, it's wonderful. I mean, no, it's sad. So I don't know who wants the photos, but if we could get, Mayor, if you want to come down, if anybody else wants to come down and be a part of the photo, we're going to put on our Facebook page. If you don't want to get hair on you, I would stay where you're at. He is shedding, but
You
you
will
guys
get
want to
hair
come
on
up and
you.
get in it too? You do. Come on, Mom. I'm not Dave. You want to like bring front a little bit? Yeah, see if we can get kind of in front of the sign a little bit, Mike, or you can hold it up, no. Somewhere, put it in front, and we're just gonna snap it over you guys' shoulders. Our dogs usually last for about 5 to 7 years, so hunters should be around for a little bit of time. Are you ready? Yeah. You can see him. Here, look. You're not gonna look, here we go. We're gonna 1, 2, 3 on the snap a bunch. Fantastic. Does that count, as you guys walk back, does council have any questions?
I have a couple, can you describe just how the workflow, it's not proprietary or is that?
No. How it workflow, give me a clarify.
So, if there is a regular stop, and there's a
Yeah, absolutely.
suspicion, you call
Yep.
in, or he's just always out and about, or?
Yep, so he rides around with them if he's working. If an officer makes a traffic stop, they believe there's a narcotic in the vehicle, they'll call the dog over. Dog will run on the outside of the vehicle. If he gets an alert, that gives him probable cause to go in and search the vehicle. We use him in our schools. So he's been in the high school, running lockers. He goes to the parking lot of the high schools. He's been in the parking lot of the alternative schools. So we use him anywhere we can. I don't think we've been in the jail yet.
Nope.
County's got some of their own dogs. Before they had their dog program, we were also in the jails running in there too. So it's a fantastic tool to try to help deter.
They can smell inside a car from outside?
Yeah, because they're catching the odor of whatever it is seeping out usually through the cracks, or maybe it's a touch transfer from their hands
Yeah.
onto the vehicle.
Wow.
Dogs are amazing with their smells, and they use dogs for so many different things. Even in the medical field, it's fantastic.
Good.
Their questions are,
Do we have a canine car?
we do.
Not
So his car is set up. It's one of the Dodge Durangos. When you look at it, you'll see a fan in the back window. So it's set up. It's got its own platform. He's got a door in the middle. He's got his own AC unit. He's got his own fan to make sure there's the alarm in it. So if it gets over a temperature, the alarm goes off to alert that the vehicle's getting too hot, because we have the summertime concerns with the rise in temperature. So he's alarmed to make sure that none of those things happen to him.
If he ever makes a big bust, what type of things could we get him that he would like for toys? Okay.
Sort of toy.
Big steak.
Steak.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much for coming.
Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks.
I just, as he walks away, one other thought, and it was really for Councilman Schreiber, you talked about the Bike and Ped Committee. I would just encourage you to reach out to the Safe Routes to School as you guys are developing those bike routes for individuals to ride. I just got an email from them in the last month, that we've been challenging the Safe Routes to Schools to help the police department to develop priority routes to school for their kids for biking and walking. So in the wintertime, we can help enforce those sidewalks and those bike paths easier. So when you guys are looking at developing, if you think it's important, I can send you their contact information and you can reach out to them and maybe have a group meeting as you guys prioritize some of those routes.
Yeah, that'd be great. That did come up at the meeting.
Perfect. I'll send you their information.
Great.
Any other
Thank you.
questions for the chief? Thanks so much, chief. Cheryl Hughes, Central Service Director, is gonna give us a brief update.
Didn't know that. So. Good evening, counselors and mayor, deputy city clerk. Haley just provided you some pictures so that you can follow along with me as I start the report off with the photos you've been given. So this is photos of property flooding that is occurring at the Nisha building, which is also known as Lead Lock, that we that we own and we lease to them. I was given the nighttime photos that show the flooding at its peak, was from 2 nights ago. Colton, the building and ground supervisor, came and spoke with me yesterday, showed me the photos. And he is coming up with a short-term solution. Him and I are going to be meeting with the director of operations over at Nisha. As you know, they manufacture medical equipment, so having water go into their facility is something that we need to make sure is taken care of. So Colton has a short-term solution, and he's also going to be likely working with utilities to evaluate what is happening, and then figure out what we need to do for the long-term solution to prevent it from happening in the future. So technically, for the long-term solution, we have until late fall to do that. His short-term solution will get us through until then. So I just wanted to provide an update to you all on that. Depending on what we need to do to fix it will determine what this will cost. So that's that. And so moving on, I wanted to give you also an update in regards to our medical insurance. On May 6th, we have a presentation that will be coming to City Council. And Councilor Spiro and myself will be meeting with this direct provider and a self-insured company model type of plan. We're meeting with them next week ahead of the presentation that you'll be given on May 6th. So just to give you some forward notice of that. Are there any questions so far?
Where is that Nisha building?
It's off of Airport Way. So it is, you know where that Industry Coffee is? It's down that street.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
Yes. And we lease that to Nisha. They used to be known as Lead Lock. On the IT front, just an update that we are going to be bringing forward for a first policy review and revision by department heads, the mayor, and legal, an AI policy for the city. This, we want to focus on the benefit and the value of the use of AI while also balancing compliance with records laws and confidential information and situations that might be dropped into these platforms that now become, that platform now owns that information. So we are going to be bringing that forward soon so that we can bring it to council hopefully in the very near future. And just an update, Marcia Snack Shack, the final season lease with the Watsons is this season. And that's going to be coming to you for consideration to approve their Fourth Amendment at the May 6th meeting. And they are planning on starting operations at May 22nd. And this is, again, their final season under the lease that we have with them. Finally, an update on the senior fraud training that police spearheaded and IT partnered with police took place at Luther Park Assisted Living on March 13th. There were over 20 in attendance, and it was well received and valued by those that attended it. And so they are planning future events to expand this valuable training. And it's not just for the seniors, anyone can attend these trainings. So we will be providing the next date that this will be scheduled and provide where that will take place so that anyone that wants to attend can. And that is all from Central Services, kind of a lot.
Thanks, Cheryl. Anyone have any questions for Cheryl?
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Holly Ellis, Public Works Director. Well, it's going to be talking to us a lot tonight, but a couple other fun things in the hopper, I'm sure.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A couple updates from Public Works. Next week is branch pickup. So April 20th, 7 a.m. Please have any of your branches, tree trimmings from your yard or above your sidewalk. We do remind folks that the sidewalk, we like to keep those clear 7 feet above the sidewalk. So while you are trimming your trees, if you have any low hanging sidewalk or trees over your sidewalk, please take that opportunity to trim those trees, and the city will come by, pick those trees up again, week of April 20th. That's next week. We're making one pass in the city, so we do ask that all those branches are out by 7 a.m. on Monday morning. Pine Street paving is starting the first week of May, so we're just about 2.5 weeks out from picking up that project from where we left off last fall. Again, this is Pine Street between Division and Boyer. Our Division Street sidewalk project is out to bid currently, and we're expecting to receive bids tomorrow. This project is taking place this summer once schools are out. This is on the east side of Division between Superior and Pine Street. Cedar Street is out to bid next week. So this is our road reconstruction project on Cedar Street between Lincoln and Division. So we'll expect to hear an update on a contract award here shortly in the next several weeks. Bridge and First sidewalk. So we're downtown at the hole in the ground at the Bridge and First intersection. Now that the asphalt plants are nearing open, the contractor is coming back out starting next week to do some of the concrete work with the sidewalk and curb. And there's a little bit of asphalt patching. So that's the purpose of that delay. So they'll be wrapping up that project in 3 weeks. You will also see construction at our raw water generator or our raw water intake. So if you're at City Beach and you're looking towards that spit, that building at the end of that plant is our raw water intake, and we're installing a generator out there. So you might see some contractors out there in the next couple weeks as they start that project to install the backup generator. The final update I have is our Boyer culvert. Our contractor came back now that the snow melted and our flows at Sand Creek went down. The contractor came back out to finish all the armoring and the rock wall. So that culvert project is officially closed out.
I was out there this morning with the heavy rain, looking at it. It looked like it was holding up really well, Holly. It's good.
Yeah, we're happy with it so far.
Good. I don't know about you council members. I'm excited to see some streets get fixed. Pine Street, that's exciting. And any questions for Holly at this time? Excellent. Thanks so much, Holly.
Thanks.
And Jason Welker, Planning and Community Development Director. We don't have much on the agenda tonight, Jason, so this is it.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I attended a American Planning Association Idaho spring meeting today down in Post Falls. So I did not prepare much for you tonight, but I will give you a brief update on the commercial zoning work that has been going on at planning and zoning. So this is one of those months where the P&Z and council meetings are staggered. So our last P&Z meeting was a week ago yesterday. At that meeting, Bill and myself worked with the commission along with some citizens who were here that night to look over the design standards for downtown core and downtown outer core. We anticipate probably another full meeting dedicated to reviewing those design standards. These are the building design standards downtown. We've kind of moved on from the development standards around setbacks and building heights, et cetera. We're now looking at the building design standards. What do we want structures to look like? New development and redevelopment of existing structures downtown. So if you're interested, it's about a 90-minute meeting last week. We'll be doing it again next week. We are very close to wrapping up our work on downtown. The final component of that, after we get through one more meeting on design standards, we'll turn to the historic preservation ordinance. And we'll probably have, I'm guessing, 3 commission meetings where we review the historic preservation ordinance. It's going to be another month or 2 of just work with the commission to get it right. So they have a clear understanding of what historic preservation looks like, how that program would be developed and implemented in Sandpoint, and determine whether they wish to make a recommendation to you all to adopt a historic preservation ordinance. But the work is not done because the task was commercial. So commercial, as you know, is far more than just downtown. And we've already begun on the staff side to look at the larger commercial zoning map, as we discussed 2 weeks ago tonight when we looked at commercial B north of Super One, north of Larch Street. That effort has actually continued down the commercial corridor through the commercial A, through the commercial C, and commercial B. And we're looking at how we might, make one effort in the next few months to rezone some of our existing commercial to get more of the type of commercial development and possibly liberate some of those regulations to allow for housing development and where currently it might not be permitted. So lately, we've been thinking about a combined workshop with planning and zoning and the city council. So keep your eyes on your email. Probably sometime in May or early June, we're gonna hold a workshop with planning and zoning, with council, focused specifically on this very substantial overhaul of our commercial zoning, including the development of 2 new zones, downtown core and downtown outer core. So I'll leave it at that. I don't have a whole lot else prepared for you tonight. If you have any questions.
Jason, I just have one. With the spring weather, are any noticeable visitation drop off at the Russell Center?
Good question. A little bit lower. We're kind of trending towards our break-even level this month, whereas since November, we've exceeded that level. So based on the first, 2 weeks of the month, we were on track to earn around $17,000. That I don't have the exact visitor numbers yet, but that's not a surprise. That's about where we were in November. So winter and the wet months are going to be the busiest months at the indoor sports center. Those numbers are starting to track down a little bit from member use as members start to go outside. And you can see it on nice days. Our outdoor courts are pretty busy right now. On the other hand, it's also high school tennis season. So we've had 2 competitions. Moscow was here yesterday, the day before, I think, playing. There will be several more. Every time the high school team practices in there, that's revenue for the facility. So actually, those revenue numbers don't account for the use by the school district and the competitions that we're hosting. So it's still quite busy in there. And we have extended our weekend hours, so I'm saying it's still doing very well.
And Jason, not to put you on the hot spot, but in light of how well things are going, I know you and I have talked about how we're going to be able to expand some of the recreational offerings. Is council aware of that? Did you bring that up?
Oh, yeah. So update on that. I mentioned it 2 weeks ago. Josh Embry is our new recreation coordinator. His first day was Thursday last week. On Thursday last week, we had a meeting with the Sandpoint Sailing Association. On Friday last week, he met with the Sandpoint softball group. 4 or 5 softball players were contacted by me and invited to a meeting with him. So those are the first 2 programs he's focusing on, is getting our sailing program going with SSA and getting Sandpoint softball back online, which we hope to have in June. So we're looking to open up registration for co-ed softball this summer, which will run from June to August. And that's been a big program. We're using social media. We're using the lists of former players that we have to get softball going. So Josh will meet the Parks and Rec Commission at their next meeting. It was canceled last week because we were here doing strategic planning. But at the next meeting, we'll bring Josh in and have him hear from the Parks Commissioners and the Recreation Commissioners on what programs they would like to see him focus on in the next 6 months.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And Gavin Gilchrist, our fire chief, can tell us about hopefully some snow up in the mountains today.
Mayor, Council, good evening. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. I touched on it a little bit last Wednesday, but last Thursday we had our state ISO inspection for the fire department. We haven't had one since 2018, so we're really excited to see kind of where we fall in our new grading matrix. So we should get that word back in less than 30 days, according to the inspector. But yep, so just want to give you guys an update on that.
You have any questions for Gavin? Thanks, Chief.
Yep.
All right, I think that covers everything. Public, thanks for waiting. We'll now proceed with the public comment portion of the meeting. If you wish to speak and haven't yet completed a sign-up form, please do so and hand it to a staff member at the back of the room. If you'd like to speak on any item included on this evening's agenda under the consent calendar, older business that is not a hearing, now is your opportunity to do so. For the purposes of general public forum, you're also welcome to comment on any topic pertinent to the business of the city of Sandpoint that is not included on the agenda. Those attending remotely who wish to speak may raise their hand on Zoom at this time. I'd like to make everyone aware that the city does have policy on public meeting decorum. The rules are posted just outside the chambers. In summary, I'd ask everyone please be pleasant, respectful, don't make derogatory comments or statements about others, including city staff. Don't be disorderly or disruptive. Please no calling out, clapping, or holding up signs. Please note that council cannot take testimony in any planning-related matter outside of official public hearing. Public comment time is for comments only, no questions or debate. You're welcome to contact me during regular business hours or council members if you have any questions or concerns related to the city. This is the only general public comment time that will be offered this evening. When it's your turn to speak, please state your name and whether you reside in Sandpoint city limits. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. And with that, Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak during the general public comment time?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First up, we have Therese Lukens.
Good evening.
Council and Mayor. Thank you all for serving our city as you serve our city. I am speaking on behalf of the trees on Cedar Street, and I know they are slated to be slaughtered in order for that street to be improved, which is terrific. But the cottonwood trees, I believe, are under the heritage trees because they are a significant grove. They're outstanding or significant group of trees that impact the city's landscape. I've lived at 329 North Lincoln, which is right at the T of Cedar Street since 1991. Those trees are beautiful. Not only that, but the osprey love to perch there. The osprey live on Lincoln Street. They don't have an official address, but they've been there a very long time. Also, I'd like for you to consider the ecological idea behind those cottonwood trees. They provide a unique ecological benefit or service to the urban environment, especially the osprey that live on Lincoln Street. Also, I just would like for you to perhaps consider, and I know I'm not the only person that has brought this to the city council's attention, is perhaps only having a sidewalk on the north side of Cedar Street as opposed to the north and south side, simply because we don't really necessarily have that much pedestrian traffic that would need 2 sidewalks. But not only that, I know that plans can be changed, and I'm just asking you to perhaps consider a change of plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lukens.
Okay, next, we have Barrett Alstad.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members and Madam Attorney. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm actually excited to share with all of you that the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has selected Sandpoint for one of their next events. It will be a 5K. It'll be the morning of July 4th. And it will start over on the south side of the Long Bridge, commencing over the Long Bridge, finishing at Memorial Field, and there will also be a stadium climb included in that. More details to come. They're going to be launching the sign up at the end of the month, April 30th, where you can go on and you can sign up to either participate, volunteer. I know that there's going to be opportunities for sponsorship. More details to come, but I just wanted to share with all of you that we have one of only 2 events on the 4th of July out of, I believe, close to 100 events throughout the country that the Tunnel to Towers Foundation sponsors. So
Very cool.
any questions for?
I usually don't engage on these, but just make sure you work with the city staff for an event permit if you're doing anything like that, if you haven't already.
I sure have.
Okay, good.
I've been working with Haley and she's been
Awesome.
great. So
Awesome. Well, congratulations.
great. Thank you
That's
very
great.
much. Thank you.
Next, we have Lex DeFremery.
Good evening, Lex.
Good evening, council and mayor.
Oh.
Okay, it started.
Yeah.
Talk about putting pressure on. I first want to offer you some praise. I was sitting there listening about the dark sky, And I'm so proud that Sandpoint, oh, by the way, I do live in the city limits. I'm so proud that Sandpoint is proclaiming dark sky and will be enforcing it. I think that's wonderful. And secondly, I want to praise you and the Forestry Council on coming up with a definite definition for heritage trees. I think that's really important, and I really like the consideration of the ecological aspects. And speaking of the ecological aspects, I would ask you to reconsider what Therese just alluded to, which is the street improvement and the sidewalks on Cedar Street, division to Lincoln. And it's been pointed out to me that the grove of cottonwood is very important to the osprey that have lived in the area. And I don't live there, but I know people who do, and they have commented on the osprey. I think that ecological consideration is something that we really need to get into the habit of doing. It's not just the values of the trees is not just how humans perceive it, but they're part of the web of life. They're part of, they have relationships with humans and non-humans. And I'm just urging you to reconsider. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lex.
Next we have Jane Fritz.
Good evening, Jane.
Good evening. This is my fourth time here to speak about osprey trees.
Jane, can you remind us, are you a city resident?
Yeah, no, I'm just outside of the city on Pine Street. I appreciate the other two speakers who talked about the definitions that you're going to be reviewing at the end of the agenda tonight. And I also agree that the definition of significant grove and ecological value do apply to those cottonwoods at the end of Cedar Street. They're, and they would need not to have a sidewalk underneath them if they were preserved. So that's important. I also want you to know that I had provided a little misinformation when I gave you Janie Veltkamp's letter a couple meetings ago. I won't even get into the long story, but I did get on the site. I gave Ms. Duquette a copy of what the actual Migratory Treaty Bird Act says about construction, and so she can share that with you. But the osprey have returned, and the male first and the female sighted just a couple of days ago. Unfortunately, they don't have the luxury that the ones down at Memorial Field do. They have the best habitat. But these birds, because the nest was just moved closer to the substation, this is their fifth move in 10 years by Avista. They had a right to do that. I did check with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to make sure I had the right information. Janie had in her letter said that habitat was also protected by law, only for eagles, not for osprey. So that doesn't mean they don't have ecological value, however. Her sentence, adjacent tall mature trees are an important nesting and perching habitat requirement for species such as eagles, ospreys, hawks, and owls. This affords the male an opportunity to defend his territory and spot danger from above, particularly as the young osprey are developing. So we're not quite as an active nest yet until eggs are laid in the nest, but they are starting to bring sticks in, and so that's a good sign. But that needed habitat is important to not just these birds, but all kinds of songbirds. There's snowberry. I mean, it's an ecosystem. You just need to know that. So I would like the city to review that part of the project. And even though it's going out to bid next week, there's enough people, I think, in this town would like to see a change regarding those trees. Okay?
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jane.
Next up, Brian LeBlanc.
Already starting at a deficit.
Hi, Brian.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Brian LeBlanc. My wife and I own E7B. It's what we hope to bring and create here in Sandpoint. We want to do this all right. We want to do it fair, thoughtfully. We want to increase to Sandpoint. We don't want to take away from it. We want to work with the city. We want to be in partnership with you guys and accept input. We know doing this would be fluid. Things are going to have to change, and input is going to be desperately needed. We've already heard a lot from citizens. Anybody follows Facebook, you're going to have seen that. We've already taken that to heart, and we know that we're going to have like no ride areas downtown, so we're not conflicting with pedestrians. We're also proposing an amendment to change the ordinance to specifically cover e-bikes, e-scooters, things of that nature. We know there's a need for it. We know there are people that don't have cars that.
Brian, I'm sorry to interrupt. What is
E7B?
What is
be an
it?
electric scooter rental company.
Okay.
Basically, we want to do a test pilot program here in Sandpoint. We want to start small, 25 scooters, nothing large and station based. We don't want them floating around town, being left on sidewalks, street corners. We don't want to have to worry about that. The only exception to the downtown no riding would be to cross Church Street to get to the city beach. We also know that the speeds on them, we can control them. We can lower them. They're not going to be zipping along, flying past everybody. We can reduce speeds to something manageable. Average bike goes between 12 and 14 miles an hour. We plan to restrict them to no more than 10, with the exception of city arterials, which we hope to meet with Chief Kuhn again about should this go forward and to allow those to go up to 15 miles per hour. We have real-time monitoring alerts on them. So when something does happen, somebody tries to throw it in a river, we know that if they get moved without our knowledge or without it being activated for a ride, we get alerts, an alarm will sound, and we can be on there within minutes. If it does go into the river, I was on a dive rescue team for Kootenai County Fire Department or fire rescue. I can be there instantly. I'm a master certified scuba diver, and I can retrieve these from wherever they do end up, if some errant scoundrel does do that. I, however, do have more faith in this community. I was raised here. My family's been here for generations. We're not these big cities. We don't have the rampant drug usage open without care and concern. We have different beliefs. We have different structures in place, and we are proud of our town. So I do think that is something that should be taken into consideration. But when I say revenue, like, I want to share our revenue with Sandpoint. I want to create a partnership where this money can also go back into the bike and pedestrians. I want to be able to help fix Sandpoint, make it more of what it could be. Thank you.
Brian, I just recommend, it sounds like you want to start a company and a new service. You should just, you should schedule a meeting with me and we can walk through some
That
things.
is actually my next step.
Great.
We plan to contact your office tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank you.
Next we have Janice Rader.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Janice Rader. I am a Bonner County resident. I do not live in the city. I'm here to thank you all for considering an amendment for a beer garden during July and August. The Sandpoint Lions Club has talked about it in depth, and they greatly appreciate you guys thinking about this because every penny from the profit of our beer garden would go to pay for the fireworks that everybody gets to enjoy on 4th of July. So thank you guys very much for considering it, and I appreciate you putting it on the agenda.
Janice, can you just give us a brief overview of how you're doing this year for it's the 250th anniversary of this great nation. How you doing?
How are we doing? Well, we're starting off about $7,000 in the hole. So we're working really hard to get some raffle prizes. We just had a generous donation from All About Chimneys. They donated a wood stove, and we're hitting up all the logging companies to get some firewood to go with it. And then we will be hitting the ground running with our raffles starting at Lost in the 50s and going through the 4th of July. And we hope to recover some of the loss from last year and see what we can do to move forward.
What's your projected need for funding for the fireworks show?
It's usually right around 35,000.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you guys for considering this. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Any other questions? All right.
That's all the public comment.
Thank you. That will conclude the general public comment portion of the meeting. We'll now proceed with the consent calendar. For the record, the total amount of bills for approval is $451,770.28. Council, do you have any questions, or are there any items you would wish to remove from consent?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Duquette?
I would like to remove number 8, please.
All right, number 8 is removed.
And
Proposed
I-
resolution festival at
I
St.
know
Patrick's
that
Agreement.
Tess is here from the festival, so if she didn't have to wait till the end of the meeting, that'd probably be awesome. It's up
Sure, we
you.
can.
Just saying that she is here.
We do have some consultants who are here as well on the dime, so.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
also like to remove number 7 and number 9 for discussion.
All right, 7 and 9 have both been removed as well. Proposed resolution farmers market license agreement, and number 9, proposed resolution professional service agreement with JUB engineer for stormwater management study project. Anyone else? All right, this will be entertain a motion for approval of items 4, 5, and 6 on the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Duquette, second by Shriver. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Rowe,
Yes.
Counselor Spiro,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Tate.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I think, Councilwoman Duquette, just because we do have some paid consultants here, that we'll just move things as quickly as we can here.
That's fine.
We'll move on to old business. First, under old business is the proposed ordinance and summary amending City Code 329, the open container law. As a request has been submitted to revise the ordinance to include the months of July and August, allowing one permitted event with alcohol at City Beach Park during those months. As currently written, the ordinance allows one permitted event per month throughout the year, with the exception of July and August. We'll now move on to deliberation and a discussion of the proposed ordinance. Council, is there any deliberation?
Yes.
Councilwoman Duquette, you're recognized.
We were afraid this might happen. We did say September through June. Those are busy. July, August were busy months. We thought it was going to be too busy. Kind of opened a can of worms. We all love the fireworks. I'm just wondering if there's another way we could help them by, I don't know what they pay for rental at the city to do their fireworks. Do they pay a fee?
We usually waive that.
You do? Okay, I was gonna say that was my idea to waive. Yeah, I don't know. Have they done it before on the 4th of July somewhere?
Have they done a beer garden?
Yeah.
I'm not aware. I mean, they pretty much put on the whole 4th of July shindig down there. Maybe the chief can provide some background or.
The short answer is they've never done it on the city property, but they've done it in front of the hotel. The goal for this would be to make it an actual beer garden, 21 and over. A decent setup so people just can't come and go because of the concerns that you just mentioned. So using the same format that they've done historically would be what they'd follow this time.
I'm wondering if there's other options they could use besides the beach. I don't want to, this is what we talked about when we talked about Chafe. You know, just opening it up to beer parties. I get it. I like beer, but it's just a city beach. It's a family beach. And we thought July and August would be for families. It's busy. There's a lot of traffic. I don't know. It's my opinion, I guess. I would love to help them put on a fundraiser for sure. I need firewood. I would buy raffle tickets, but I don't see that we need to open the beach up. We were going to make this, try it for a year, but I know legal said we could always change anyway, so we didn't have to put it on a trial, but I would kind of like to wait and see how we do on what we already committed to.
Other council discussions, comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman Tate.
for Chief Kuhn, how do you feel about this?
You know, I think with the proper parameters put in place, that it's something that we could definitely evaluate for a year, like Councilwoman was talking about, having that year program. Eliminating those first 2 months was a struggle at the beginning of the discussion because we're leaving somebody out who the Lions Club has been down there for, can't even begin to count how many years, putting on the fireworks show, and everything that we can do to help them out, I think is important. And that we did throw in the next month just for a one-off. I think it's important to remember these are a one-time event. And if it's not successful, it's absolutely something we can come back and eliminate. So with the right parameters, I think I'm very comfortable in moving forward with it.
Okay. Yeah, and I wasn't on council when this was just discussed or agreed upon last fall, maybe. And I'm not going to say anybody else on council is sober, but I'm 16 years in recovery, so beer is not my jam. But I do recognize the importance of the Lions Club and what they do in our community. And my stance on this, I mean, I'd be willing to discuss it further, but case by case basis type of a situation. But this is an organization that's done some great things in our community, and this event is important. And it's it's a new time down there at the beach with the hotel and the grass land swap and all that. So it's kind of a new territory, but having Chief Kuhn on board would be one very important component to me agreeing to do something like this. So that's my 2 cents.
Other council discussion on this one?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Schreiber.
Yeah, I think Councilor Duquette makes a really good point that 4th of July, or July isn't just the busiest month, but 4th of July is probably the busiest day down there. That being said, I think I'm inclined to give it a try and see how it works out. And we discussed this pretty heavily when we approved it in the first place, that if it doesn't work out, it's pretty easy to change. So I guess that's where I'm sitting right now is let's see, and we can always change it July 5th if if we decide August shouldn't happen either.
Other council members?
Can we just make it one event for July or sorry?
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, can we just make it one event for July or does it have to be for the whole month?
Councilman Torres, and confirmed with legal, you all have the ability to make a motion to amend this that would limit it further to the 15th of
It's
July.
currently limited to one a month.
Per entity, per organization, right?
No, it's just one a month. The way I read it, it's one a month.
That is what we decided.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't have
So once
local entity 1 on July 4th, local entity 2 on July 5th.
it's one event per month. So the Lions Club would be first in line, and then they'd be done for the month of July.
They would, and
Everybody
everyone
would be.
else would.
Anybody would be. No more permits would be allowed for alcohol events at there.
That sits a little better with me.
You said July, the item said July and August. So are we opening it up also for somebody for August?
One event in August as well.
It's busy. It's busy. It's family time at the beach.
Well, Councilwoman Duquette, if you were not comfortable with that, you could make a motion to amend the ordinance to have it just be July.
Okay, I'll try that.
Those are your powers.
I would make a motion to amend it to be just for July this one time because of who they are and see how it goes. But again, it's a busy time, especially 4th of July.
So the motion is to amend the ordinance to just expand it into the month of July. Again, and before there's a second, I want to emphasize it's not just for one entity. We're opening this up to anyone who would apply. We're not playing favorites.
Right, except they were first to request.
Is there a second to that motion? Hearing no second, the motion fails. So is there a motion to approve the ordinance as proposed?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Council President Roll, second by Councilman Espiro. Where am I here? I'll now, sorry, I jumped ahead. Ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Sandpoint, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, amending Sandpoint City Code Title 3, Chapter 2, Section 9, Open Container Law, providing for severability and providing for publication and an effective date.
There was a motion, I assume it would still stand, in a second by Rule and Espiro. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Tate,
Chief Coon. Yes.
Yes.
Counselor Spiro,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
I would only vote yes for July, so I guess no.
Counselor Rule,
I'd just like to say, I think there are enough guardrails on this and it is not written in stone, so it could be changed if we have any problems with this new ordinance. Yes.
and Counselor Torres.
Yes.
The ordinance is passed its first reading by title only and the summary is approved. I would entertain a motion that the rules requiring 3 separate readings, once in the ordinance entirety, be suspended until the ordinance passes its second and third reading under suspension of the rules. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
That was Councilwoman Duquette moved that and Councilman Espiro seconded. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Spiro,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette.
Yes.
Motion passes and the ordinance is considered read, passed, and adopted under suspension of the rules. Moving on to item 11, we'll be provided with an update on the wastewater treatment plant reconstruction. And we've got Holly who'll be leading this along with our engineers from Keller and Associates.
Thank you again, Mayor, Council. As I share my screen here, again, introduce you Kyle Mesko, representing Keller Engineering. They have been working on our wastewater treatment plant. Kyle has seen at least half the council, but probably a new face for our newer council members. So Kyle, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle Meshko here. I'm out of the Coeur d'Alene office, and I grew up in Sandpoint, and I think I have met both Joe and Joshua at some public involvement here for the revenue bond. So I think they're pretty up to speed on what's been occurring and transpiring. So the good news is it's all been moving in the right direction. So yeah, we'll start off. And want me to run?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Run the slides.
Great. So where we're currently at right now is we are working with DEQ on more or less finalizing some regulatory provisions that will hopefully give us some more permit flexibility moving forward. As Councilor Joe and Joshua, I think the rest of the council is very aware of Sandpoint's struggle with I&I, inflow and infiltration. That's a big driver here for this project, and that's also a huge reason why the project amount and cost was so high, is there's a large amount of flow generated during those big snow and rain events. So we're actively working with DEQ on finalizing some provisions on the permit flexibility, and we're hopeful to get some more direction on that here in the coming months. As you're aware, it's very exciting. We have more or less phase 1 identified through DEQ for funding, and we're looking forward to more or less executing that funding package. I think Holly has it slated for the May council.
May 6th, we'll have our SRF funding agreement, bringing that to council.
Yeah. And then following that, preparing to move into design and then wrapping up kind of in our environmental permitting. So big picture, as you're all aware, the kind of first step after we got done with the planning study that was previously completed in 2018, 2019 was developing a preliminary engineering report that was submitted to DEQ last year. Comments were received, and updated accordingly. That's ready to be resubmitted back to DEQ. But as you can imagine, we are working with them on the final permitting provisions and any flexibility. And as you can imagine, that has an opportunity to impact our overall project. So fortunately, what was preliminarily developed for the revenue bond and the overall project cost, that's the most conservative. So our intent here is, as we continue to work with DEQ, is to hopefully refine that with those provisions and more or less shrink that project down to more aligned with the actual conditions that are being experienced throughout the year. So following that, further permitting provisions coordination with DEQ, which is slated, I think they're going to be up here in May 6th to further discuss that and review that. We'll hopefully get some final direction from them on how they would like us to proceed on that regard. And then, of course, before anything else is taken on that regard, the council, it'll be reconvened with the council and share an update on where that went and where the plan is moving forward with those provisions. So like I've kind of hinted at, what does the regulatory permit provisions mean? So big picture, everyone here's probably made chocolate milk before, old school way, you know, the squirt bottle, chocolate and milk. Okay, so one of the things, what happens when you have a big rain on snow event is everything's really diluted. So your traditional day, like during the summer, you're maybe like 5 squirts of chocolate milk, right? It's a lot more concentrated, it's sweeter, it's way better. But during a rain on snow event, it's a lot more diluted, right? And there's the flow, you have way more milk than you do chocolate. And in result, it makes the future design of this system more costly because we have to design everything much larger for a few incidents or a few events throughout the kind of wet season where we'll have a big peak flow event and everything has to be sized more or less to handle that. So one of the things we've been working with the DEQ and the city on is developing more or less a wet weather treatment train where during those peak diluted events, not all of it will have to go through the primary and secondary treatment. It'll go through a more simplified process and still deliver the permit limits required for concentrations of BOD and TSS, which is required through IDEQ. So we're not necessarily changing those provisions. It's more just enabling this diluted wastewater to not size our entire facilities based on those couple peak flow events throughout the year. Did I explain that kind of okay? I'm getting some head nods, so bear with me there. So, and hopefully the chocolate milk wasn't too much.
We do like props though, so if you can bring some.
I know, I should have brought some
Lactose
chocolate
free up
milk.
here.
Yeah, I dropped the ball on that. But with that being said, you know, I think preliminarily we've looked at, you know, potential around $10 million in savings. That's a big deal. I know it maybe doesn't feel like a big deal because we've talked about this, you know, $130 million project. I think this is just, you know, one step in the right direction. We do think there's a handful of other opportunities to continue to refine those costs and look to reduce costs. I think that's a really high priority with this project. Even though we've passed the revenue bond, we owe it to the public to find the most cost-effective way to implement this. So I think I covered most of those points.
I think there's one more slide that kind of really dives into the wet weather train too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you know, as these events occur, you know, we're trying to look for a process that is more or less, and maybe to back up, the city's already piloted a primary filter, and what that's able to do is to remove some of the BOD and TSS before it goes to your secondary treatment. And in result, that's able to handle this peak I&I flow event and keep the permit in compliance for your discharge. So I think where we're going is we feel like this wet weather treatment train that's parallel to your full facility is enabling greater flexibility so that Devin and crew can operate a plant that's really designed for the 5 MGD throughout the year. And then when you have your large peak event, you're able to route a portion of that flow through more or less a wet weather treatment train, and those blended effluents will still align with the overall permit provisions. So that's what we're working through with DEQ. As Holly has, mentioned in the past, this is not something that's traditionally done in Idaho. This is more or less kind of, we're leading the charge on this. And I think a huge driver for this is aligning with the city spent the better part of a decade working on I&I improvements. We have some very unique challenges with our groundwater level, our soil conditions. There's been tens of millions of dollars spent on that, and there's been some improvement, but the cost to continue to do that is it's very challenging when we already have all of the costs of the treatment plant facility in front of us that have been more or less postponed trying to address all those I&I improvements.
And I would just add, or just really highlight here, when we're looking at our plant, as Kyle mentioned, we are looking at up to $130 million of improvements, and that was a conservative approach. What we're focusing on now is funding. So that's looking for loans, looking for grants. Our next step will be to enter design, where we'll do engineering evaluations to get that cost down. This is another another tool that we have, is to really look at our permit and see if there's any flexibility to reduce those treatment costs and save the project. So this is almost like a value engineering on our permit front. So another tool in our tool belt to try to get the price of this plant reduced.
You want to chat on funding?
So continuing on funding, a reminder, in November, we were fortunate to pass our $130 million revenue bond. Our next step, so at the next council meeting, there will be 2 agreements for council's consideration for acceptance of our $38 million state revolving fund loan and a $2.5 million grant. We are also anticipating another $20 million by SRF in the future. So this would total $60 million in state funding. This is largely in alignment with phase 1. So when we think about phasing, don't think about phasing as pausing construction. Think of it more as the sequence of construction, because phase 2 and 3 are coming. We're not doing phase 1 and stopping. It's just that this is the first sequence of construction that's funded. So our first construction efforts will go to this preliminary phase, which Kyle will provide more details on. As phase 2 develops, we will schedule that dependent on our funding sources. So we know that there are really good loan opportunities out there. We're looking for grants. There's also good bonds, private bonds as an option. And then again, as I mentioned, value engineering and any opportunities to save cost, that will also happen in the design phase.
Yeah, and I think what's, exciting, we've had several meetings with USDA RD, they're a potential good funding avenue where they, depending on the timing and when we apply and when they have available grant dollars, they've been a really large contributor for grant dollars for projects. And, I think we just came out of this big era of all this grant dollars being passed around. $2.5 million is still a really, really big deal that we have through for this first phase. And we're hopeful that as we continue to push and apply for other applications, there'll be more opportunities on that. So where we're at, just to back up a little bit, when we developed the preliminary engineering report, it was really focused on addressing more or less all the needs as one project. And so now that we've passed the revenue bond, we've checked the marks saying, hey, we do have the permission to go into debt to do everything And then now we've got a portion of that funding. Now we're kind of looking at, okay, what does this phase one look like? And we're kind of in that $60 million ballpark. So now we're kind of taking what we originally delineated and we're looking at creative ways to make that fit or portions of that fit into this phase one. And really where we're at right now is we're still looking at with the city kind of further refining what that looks like. And it's looking like it's going to be really heavily focused on more or less the treatment improvements like the aeration basins, and then opportunity for influent pumping, and then of course SCADA, and which is all of the controls and communications as those come online, and then backup power. One of the things, if I think most of the counselors have been a part of the tours, you've seen all of the knobs and stuff and the controls and the screens. It is a little bit of a Wild West, and there's a big need for that, for operations, for information, for staff to know how things are operating and functioning. And then phase two will be the remaining portion that didn't get done in phase one. And then depending on where funding is, that might, like Holly alluded to, that could be potentially a phase three. I think fortunately, depending on DEQ's discussion with the permitting, that will potentially change how phase two gets rolled out. You know, hopefully it's in a positive light and we're able to reduce some of the needs on sizing and aeration capacity and so forth. So one of the things in the facility planning process that was done back in 2019 is typically you do an environmental information document when you do a facility plan. We are picking that up and just drafted that environmental information document based on the updated kind of project and what we're looking to accomplish. And more or less, this will be in conjunction with DEQ and the city. There's a formal process where this looks at everything from, I mean, a lot of discussions that we've even had tonight with environmental impacts, you name it, fauna, water, recreational. It's a little unique because we're not going to a new site with this. This has been in an operation for how, you know, decades and decades. So it's not as intensive. And what we would anticipate with this environmental is what they call a FONSI. So more or less government, state agency, DEQ will determine it's a finding of no significant impact, or there's no big changes on the environmental standpoint. As you're aware, in our PER, the infrastructure is being brought up to a modern day state of operations. There's going to be efficiencies, higher level of treatment and removal. So we're generally improving the overall quality of the system and the area around it. One of the items we were tasked with in our preliminary engineering report was looking at ways to roll this project out as far as construction wise. I think everyone's familiar with just your standard consultant designs it, it goes out to bid and you select low bidder. We've evaluated probably about 6 or 7 different alternative delivery methods. And the city intends to use CMGC, which is more or less a combination of working, and maybe that graphic kind of depicts that. You're looking to more or less bring a contractor earlier on through qualifications based. So let's say we're at a 30% design and we're ready to bring a contractor on, and they're going to help the city, the engineering work together to define, okay, how does this project come together? How does it get built? Okay, we see opportunities to save money here. You can't phase it that way. This is what we'd recommend. So the intent there is to have overall improved collaboration with the owner and the contractor up front to help manage risk, to help manage budgets, and then also to, the intent is also to speed up the delivery as well. I'm just wrapping up about a project with this, and one of the things that you're able to do with this process is to develop early work packages. So the entire project might not be fully designed, but there's certain portions where maybe you're going to procure pumps, you're going to procure generators, you're going to do like an early earthwork package where, as you're aware, the soil conditions out there are not very pleasant to work with. So there's some geotechnical improvements that need to be done before these structures get built. So there's an opportunity to fast track a lot of work.
It's a really collaborative project delivery method, and one of the most exciting benefits that we're eager for is the procurement. So a lot of the equipment sees long lead times. This allows us to purchase that equipment on the front end and not slow the project down while we're waiting for things to arrive. So we should see, as Kyle mentioned, some time saving on this.
So next steps, we are, like we've indicated, working with DEQ on getting the final permitting provisions kind of locked down. As I mentioned, it is kind of new waters for DEQ and the state, so we're not entirely sure how quickly that'll come, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to make really good progress in the May meeting. Updating the PER to reflect kind of that final phasing as indicated previously, and then resubmit to DEQ, and then finalize the SRF funding agreements, which I think is going to be in your court here in the next couple weeks. And then in the intermediate time frame here in the next couple months, we will be wrapping up hopefully the environmental information document, getting approval from DEQ on that. That does require a public hearing on that to solicit public's input, and then working to initiate a CMGC procurement. So more or less, it'll go out for solicitations and helping select a contractor for the city to move forward with that aspect. And then I think, as we have discussed earlier tonight, all of this will be confirmed, as we move forward with council, and continue to be updated. If you guys ever have any questions, don't hesitate to give me a call or shoot me an email. I'd be happy to discuss any of it with you.
Excellent. Council, any questions for Holly and Kyle? I just only add is, it's not just DEQ coming up on the 6th, it's the director of DEQ, the Northern Office director as well. So really hopeful that they're supportive of this wet weather treatment that will let us design a plant that's much smaller. And I'm an optimist, but Kyle's a conservative engineer. I'm hoping that savings is going to be more than $10 million, but that's the goal. And just for everyone's the funding, it's except the 2.8 million, it's loans. That SRF is a state revolving loan fund, so we don't have any other grants at this time, meaning we have to pay it back through rates. Go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about this wet weather treatment train. I think it's a great idea. It's really frustrating to think that you're going to build a giant plant for the 2 days a year that you actually need it. Something that occurred to me though is, in addition to the $10 million savings up front, and this might be a little bit too early to say, what could we maybe see in terms of operations and maintenance down the road if we're only running half of the machinery? Is it pretty easy to shut the other half down and package it up for the winter or however it is?
Yeah, that's a really good comment. Over the years, we've worked with some communities that have exploded like Star, and those are really challenging communities to plan for, where you need to plan for this explosive growth. And then if you have an 2008 recession and that growth doesn't come, it puts all this equipment that you'd plan for capacity and stuff like that just more or less sitting there. And I think you nailed it on the head. The more that we can design our facilities to more or less, handle the average flow throughout the year and not over design for those wet weather events, the better Devin and his team are going to be able to operate and manage it. I think with that wet weather train, having, there's going to be a dual purpose. So a portion of that will still be providing overall annual treatment performance. And then a portion of it will be more or less really designated for that peak flow event. And that's really still driven by our permit and having to meet that permit based on the loadings that come into the plant. But I think at the end of the day, there needs to be important considerations into those equipments or the phasing of how, maybe we're not having to install every one of those items right now because they're not experiencing 14 MGD today. It's more, hey, here's your trigger point. This equipment then gets purchased at this later date so that it's not just sitting there and it gets used once in 5 years. But I don't know if I answered that fully, but.
No, I think, yeah, you answered a part of it that maybe I hadn't even thought of actually. But my question was more like, maybe the filters in that secondary train are going to last longer because they're not used as often, and the pumps are going to last longer because they're not turned on as often. So we might see some additional savings in the long-term operations and maintenance, in addition to the upfront savings of not having to build a giant plant.
Sure, yeah.
Any other council questions for Holly or Kyle? It's pretty exciting. We're making progress. It feels like a long process, and it is, but we're trying to do it the right way and save as much money for the taxpayers as we can and ratepayers. So Holly and Kyle, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's our consultant that was paid. I guess we do have one more under old business, but I know we have some guests here that have some things held up on consent. So is anyone objectionable to us jumping back to those items that came off consent right now? Excellent. We will now move to items removed from consent calendar. I know the festival's here, so let's start with item number 8, pulled by Councilwoman Duquette, which is proposed resolution with the festival at Sandpoint lease agreement, city agreement A26-1970-3. Councilwoman Duquette, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm trying to get the contract up. Hold on a sec. Okay, I'm just trying to get some help again this season with trying to avoid things that I think are environmentally unnecessary and unsafe for the community and for our pollinators. Again, it's the section on the contract about what page? I wrote it, page 4. It's page 4 of 19 of the contract. And it is the pesticide treatment. So I've spoken with Veronica quite a bit, and I couldn't get anybody to agree with me last year, so I'll try again. The insecticide, the pesticides they use is bifin IT. In it, it has bifenthrin. Bifenthrin, the chemical itself, is banned for agricultural use in European Union because of its high toxicity to aquatic life with risk of runoff. And we put this right there in the memorial field right by the stormwater swale and the lake itself. It's long-lasting. It persists in the soil as it would in the turf. It's lethal to bees, both honeybees, all the little bees, the mason bees and bumblebees and butterflies. It is labeled a Class C carcinogen to human beings. They call it a forever chemical, PFAS, and that's that per and polyfluoro substrate. I can't pronounce that one, but chemicals. And it will last on artificial turf also for months. So I found some ideas. I found this company, Cedarside. And did you get a copy of that, Haley, in paper that Tess could have?
I don't have a printed copy, but
Okay.
it was forwarded to all council
Okay,
members.
right. I was hoping that Tess could get one too, but I should have printed one. And so I did have that sent to you to share. I called the guy this morning. That's the information he gave me. It is non-toxic. It is made out of juniper cedar. It is the oil. And so I hope you had a chance to read that information. It can be sprayed just like you're spraying I know you don't spray, it's Western States. If that's still your person this year. It can be put on a backpack. He gave information on how much you would need for 4.5 acres, which was the size of the venue. I don't know, industrial fans, yellow light bulbs would deter insects. It's the white light that they all come to. And I was thinking even trying like artificial wasp nests. I know people use those in their yards because wasps are territorial. If they see a wasp nest, they stay away. I've been to outdoor drinking establishments who use them, and it has worked. So I think we have alternatives to try, and I would like to get this part out of the contract or make a motion to try some other things on a year's trial. I think it would behoove the community. I know that we all care about our environment, our water, our pollinators. I know that even by using that chemical, there are still gnats. I mean, you cannot get rid of bugs in the summer at an outdoor festival with the lake right there. So that is what I would like to propose. I would like to see if I could get some other counselors to agree with me to change that for the year and see how we do, see how tests and the festival. I do not want to take away from the festival. I know it's a great economic boon for the area. I love music, but I think we can do it in a better way.
Thank you, Councilwoman Duquette. Council members, are there others that are interested in pursuing potential changes to the lease that would amend this pesticide treatment portion of the lease?
Go ahead.
The way
President Rule.
the way I'm reading the pesticide treatment is leasee must request approval from leaseor, which would be the city, for use of any pesticide product. So to me, this would be potentially not a change in this lease because we could direct staff to, if we all agree, to only allow certain types of pesticides for the festival. So we already in the lease say, we could very easily with this say, no, you can't use a pesticide product. So I don't think it's the lease that we need to change, it's direction to staff that we need to change.
Okay.
Does that make sense? That doesn't mean that you can't at a later date come back with an action about what types of pesticides you'd like to see the city use, but that would be a separate agenda item from this evening.
So you're just saying we could take out pesticides?
Well, it's saying that we as a city have to approve any pesticide type product they're going to use. What you're referring to is something natural, but it's also considered a pesticide. Correct?
I suppose it would be called a.
So what Council President Rule has pointed out is that we still hold the discretion. It does require lessor's approval. So if the council on a subsequent action created a policy or directed staff of the permitted types of pesticides that could be used or prohibited types.
Okay, pesticide just in general terms.
We would then apply that when they come and request to apply pesticides.
And unfortunately, the festival people have not seen that Cedar Side information that I got, and I can forward that to you because he sent me a whole big email today, and they seem like a great company.
Okay. Well, we can maybe have a meeting with the festival to discuss about solutions.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Councilman Schreiber.
Seems to me that we could approve this contract as is and also direct staff to work with the festival on alternative pesticides right now. I don't know that we need a second meeting for that. No.
Well, I mean, we'll have to meet.
Yeah, I mean, council doesn't need to bring it up on the
Right.
agenda again. I'd be in favor of doing that.
Well, what would be looking for is clear direction from council that you would prefer or directing the city to prohibit the use of.
Of the
this-
Bifin,
Say it again,
the Bifin IT,
as said.
Bifin.
Is there consensus, implied consent that the city wants to prohibit the use of Bifin IT within the city on leased property?
On our leased property, anything reflective. I don't have the holistic view of what the city's doing right now, but I definitely would be in favor of going towards a less permanent,
Less toxic.
yeah, the PFAS
Okay.
stuff.
It's my understanding we're not using that anywhere else in the city, but is there any objection, let me put it this way, to the administration putting forward a policy that, or a standard that we do not use that, we prohibit that on leased property? And city attorney, if you have any comments, please weigh in.
Does that want to work? My only comment is that you had a very specific consent agenda item for the approval or not of this lease. So I just want you to be careful not to move into any sort of action that's not agendized.
Correct.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's the lease that we would have to say,
I agree with Councilwoman Rule. You don't have to amend this lease to still
Okay.
have some control over what is used. I
okay,
think that's the whole point. But I don't want you to move into any sort of action item on what is or is not going to be used because that's
I
not been
gotcha.
agendized.
right, okay.
And it's not run through the proper director channels either.
Communication policy, yes.
So to clarify, my question of can we also direct staff right now? The answer is no. Okay, thanks.
You don't have an agendized item for restriction or prohibition of any of the,
It's just for the lease
it's just for the
itself.
lease. That's correct.
All right, any other discussion? I think we know where this is headed, which would be a future agenda item with.
So it
such-
would be a future agenda item.
Yep.
To,
Prior to the festival.
You might not need it. You might want to wait and see what program that they bring forward and then decide whether or not it requires council action.
to turn it back to festival.
Right. It's in their lease. to
It is to let
notify
us
you.
know, right?
Yeah, I think they can read the tea leaves right now. and
15
see
days.
that.
Listening.
Uh,
15 days in advance.
Yeah,
And I'll
I think
let
we
it-
want to do it well before 15 days in
Because
advance.
one thing that the gentleman said about the Cedar side is to, and I don't have that in front of me either, to start early and to do it like 2 weeks before and then don't do it. And then 2 weeks later.
So rather than
Okay.
proceeding with
Okay.
direction from the dais
Okay.
to
All right.
someone that's in the audience.
I'm just saying, if she
Yeah.
waits 15 days before they want to do it,
Council,
Maybe your suggestion would be to amend that time frame in the lease only with an approval of the lease.
what I'm going to propose is that we act on this item and I will immediately have staff engage.
okay,
Disseminate the information. The festival is clearly hearing that we're not, the council's tone is not very favorable to this pesticide. And if need be, we can agendize something through the channels, through the communication policy now, and bring back potentially either prohibition or staff directive for pesticide use.
okay. And I'd be happy to forward to whatever staff
We've got a lot,
needs the information
we will reach out and we will
about the
certainly get
Cedar
it.
side.
We will get
To
everything.
you,
Um,
to you.
in the interest of keeping the meeting moving along.
Yep.
Mr.
Move
Mayor,
along.
just to
Thank you.
clarify though, that dissemination of information, would you please provide it to the clerk with
did.
direction on who it needs to go
Okay.
to so that we can corral the public records?
Okay, I
Thank
have
you.
provided it to her. That's why she sent it to all of the counselors today for me.
Great.
But I did want Tess to have one.
Excellent. Concluding that discussion, is there a motion to approve the item number 8, city agreement A26 1970-3, Festival Sandpoint lease agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Council President Rule, second by Schreiber. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Counselor Duquette?
Doesn't sound like I should say yes, but yes.
Counselor Spiro? Yes. Counselor Rowe?
Yes.
Counselor Torres?
Sounds like a
Mr. Mayor,
trap.
motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to other items pulled from consent. Let's go back to item 7, proposed resolution farmers market lease agreement A26-1970-4, pulled by Councilman Schreiber. Councilman Schreiber, the floor is yours.
This will be pretty quick because my sentiments were kind of along the same lines as that last item, that I, absolutely support the farmers market and all they do for our community. My concern is that I was recently noticing that some of the trees in the park are not doing so well. And I was hoping to find a way that we can continue the farmers market. And yeah, I've actually discussed this with Director Hughes, and she's got some great ideas about what we could do. But I also don't want to drift into unagendized territory. So
I would say may I say something?
You have the council has the floor. Go ahead.
This whole thing, I have had many community members worry about the trees there safe. And I know an arborist who has prescriptive things could be done to those trees while we still used the park. So I'm just saying there are options.
I just have a question. Does your issue with the trees have anything to do with the terms and conditions of the lease?
yes, because
No, because what language in the lease are you concerned about?
the location.
Okay.
The location is the direct cause of the decline of the trees.
So I can speak to that. We did meet with the farmer's market and everybody's aware about the trees and the roots. The contract says that the booths shall be erected and all display and sales activities of the licensee, farmer's market, shall be conducted in a manner to minimize any damage to the park. That includes the trees. And that is their goal. And not going to go into further conversations in this forum that we've had with the farmers market and the future location or the trees, but they're aware and the contract requires them to locate booths that minimizes the damage. And that might be that they expand their use on Oak Street a little bit, add a couple more booths there, but they're aware of it.
I'm sure they are.
Well,
it's also the people.
Council President or Councilman Schreiber, did you have any feedback?
I would like to see the city create a plan that a long-term plan about how we can preserve those trees and replace the ones that are beyond preservation. I will bring that up as a future agenda item. As for now, I would like to make a motion to approve this contract.
Motion made to approve the contract.
So moved.
Second by Councilman Spiro. A motion made by Councilman Schreiber. So we roll call vote.
Counselor Duquette?
Do we get to discuss after the motion?
If
Yes,
you would
we
like
do.
to discuss, go ahead.
Just one comment. In the contract, it does tell me if I'm not supposed to share.
Well, then don't,
Legal.
if you have to ask,
No.
the answer's
No,
no.
because the things I think are not. It does say on page 16 of the contract that the staff goes out and trims branches. Staff could also rope off the tree area. I think it's a lot the people walking around there also.
I think the contract itself gives the
Okay.
city broad discretion to direct where booths and or traffic is going to be.
That is correct.
Yes. Is that what it's my turn to say?
That was a yes, sure.
Yes.
Mr. Schreiber?
Yes.
Counselor Spiro?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Counselor Torres?
Yes.
Counselor Rowe?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And Councilman Schreiber, I'd recommend maybe this be discussed at the Urban Forestry Committee and maybe Parks and Rec to, I don't know if we can fertilize the trees, aerate the soils. I mean, I get it, the compaction is hard, so. but-
Yeah, stood down at that park the other day and just imagined it if all the trees were gone, and it's not a very interesting park without trees. So I think it's something that the community should preserve.
Sure.
So I'll leave it at that.
Moving on to number 9, removed from the consent calendar by Councilman Schreiber, City Agreement A26-3400-3, Professional Service Agreement JB Engineering for Stormwater Management Study Project. Floor is yours, Councilman Schreiber.
Thanks. Yeah, this is another one that I'm inclined to approve. At the March 18th meeting, we discussed this, and there was discussion about including in the scope of work recommendations for on-site retention requirements for smaller scale development and how that might affect the modeling. And I didn't see that specifically enunciated in the lease or the scope of work. So I was just wanted to make sure that that made it in there.
Yes, our intent is that that is in that agreement under the code revisions and updates. So we didn't explicitly call out what in the code updates, but they'll be looking comprehensive at our stormwater management code. And when we do pick up that effort, that's where that residential modeling exercise would take place.
Okay. So it is in there even though I didn't see it.
Yes, under code updates.
Perfect. That's what I needed to hear.
Is there a motion to approve the number 9?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Shriver, second by Councilwoman Rule. City Agreement A26-3400-3. Any discussion? So by roll call vote.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Sprow,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Rule.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
And-
Okay.
And for some of your council members, you can still have that same level of robust discussion with those items on consent. So don't feel like you have to move them off of consent just to have discussion, especially like Councilman Schreiber, you were inclined to vote yes, you just needed a clarification. That can still occur with it on consent, just so you're aware.
I did not know.
Thanks.
that.
You're welcome.
The final item under old business is Boyer Avenue cross-section evaluation, and Holly Ellis, Public Works Director, will now present.
Mr. Mayor, may we take a brief recess?
Sure, let's take a 5-minute recess at 7:22.
Thank you.
Right.
That would last.
Meeting's reconvened at 7:27. Nice timing, everyone. Thank you. Continuing on item number 12, Boyer Avenue cross-section evaluation. Holly Ellis, Public Works Director.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. 1 second as I share my screen. So in October, City Council directed staff to take a look at Boyer Avenue. We're looking at Boyer Avenue between Baldy and East Mountain View Road. And the purpose of this evaluation was for us to consider adding parking to to Boyer. One of the primary benefits of adding parking to Boyer would be to allow for future development to have housing that fronted Boyer. And our city planner, Bill Dean, and our community development director, Jason Welker, presented that alternative to you and shared some of the benefits. So from an engineering perspective, we engaged with Fair and Pierce, our traffic engineer, to look at this assessment under the existing conditions. So without any improvements to this corridor, is it feasible? And due to safety, operations, and engineering in alignment with our multimodal, their recommendation was no, not with the existing. And I don't know if it would be worth asking Bill or Jason to add the value to rotating those houses again. I don't want to miss highlighting that.
Well, I can keep him off the hot seat, and for everything that hasn't built out on Boyer, the thought is it mirrors more of Boyer south of Super One or the roundabout, where although we wouldn't have driveways, you could have front porches, decks, entryways, doors that face Boyer, and opening Boyer up as a a part of the community rather than just putting a wall or shrubbery or arborvitae there. So it's just shutting it off, and you have to interface with those residents by going internally. So a visitor coming to visit someone living in one of those future homes could pull up and park, walk up to the steps, vice versa. So I think in general, it's to mirror the character of South Boyer from the roundabout all the way down to Ontario, rather than having it be this high intensity corridor. Soften that with parking and more activity generally. Did I get
Thanks,
that?
Mr. I didn't want you to miss that perspective. So the concept that's in front of you is not in alignment with our multimodal transportation plan. Boyer does function as a freight route, a truck route. That's why you see wider travel lanes, a higher speed limit. If this was something that council was interested in pursuing forward, this alternative going forward to pursue parking on Boyer, we'd want to look at first starting with our multimodal transportation plan and opening that up to look at our truck routes and see if there's a better way or a preferred way for us to navigate our truck circulation in and out of Sandpoint. So as we're working on our strategic planning and we're talking about updates to our multimodal plan, this might be a really good concept for us to pull back and explore, because if this parking on Boyer was a priority for council, we'd want to update our multimodal transportation plan, update our truck routes, look at speed limits under that comprehensive planning effort. And that would inform a capital improvement project to move a curb line, widen a multi-use path that could facilitate parking. Absent capital funding for this corridor, it's not recommended to move forward with parking. This wasn't on the agenda as an action item. It was just a presentation and update. But if there are any questions.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot. If council would afford me, I just want to ask Holly a couple questions and we'll jump down. Holly, I mean, we've got 5.5 feet, 5 feet 4 inches of what do we call that? Green space between planning strip. Thank you. Is there an opportunity to encroach on that another 2 feet to get a little more safety there for those vehicles parked? And I only bring that up, I'm wondering what short-term solutions there could be, because from what I understand, there are a variety of developers who are either in the process of buying that land, I don't represent any of them, and are prepared to start designing homes. And I think some of this vision intent is going to direct what kind of homes they build there and where those homes are oriented. So in your mind, are there, other than going through the multimodal and all those things I agree on, are there structural things we could do without a capital improvement plan that could solve this?
So the report in front of you is under the existing conditions. So without the city expending funds, there are alternatives that could be explored, and that would take funding. It would take dollars to move a curb line and dollars to widen a multi-use path. And that's where the recommendation from staff is to have that as a capital improvement plan. When you start to spend those dollars, we do put those as capitalized plans, especially when we're talking about safety, operations, and our multimodal transportation plan. So if we were to move forward with an improvement outside of alignment with our plans, that's fundamentally not what we like to do. So we want to start with the planning effort first, bring the public, all of the community members to the table, get all the right people in the room before we move forward with decision-making, moving curb lines, or changing the function of that road.
Thanks, Holly.
Mr. Mayor.
Council President Rule.
I have way too many comments for this, so.
No, this is important.
First of all, I want to thank Holly for doing exactly what we asked for. We asked for you to get an engineering report about changing and putting parking on a truck route. So I think as you stated, one of the bigger issues here is that we really need to make the changes in the multimodal plan. My greatest concern is I do feel like there's some urgency because once the houses are built and the neighborhood starts to develop, that's 100 years. They're going to be there, they're not going to change. And so how can we expedite making a situation better? I know that I believe we have trail money that we do have to spend. So maybe that is in a gray sense and a watercolor sense, dollars that we could improve here so that as Sandpoint develops over time, this area of the city starts to develop into a neighborhood as we change the zoning, if that happens behind Super One and that turns into a neighborhood. We already have 25-mile-an-hour speed limits, I believe, up to Baldy. I don't see an issue with changing 25-mile-an-hour speed limits up to Mountain View as far as that piece of it. There are churches immediately across from the developments that are already happening there. So to slow this down and start turning it into a neighborhood, it's sort of a vision to allow people to walk to church, to allow people access to different things. Just because historically this has been a truck route, I would like to see us get a little bit more creative about how we can create a neighborhood here. As Sandpoint grows over the next 20 or 30 years, it's quite possible that, building telephone poles right in the middle of the heart of Sandpoint almost and having a asphalt and concrete plant, maybe those businesses will decide, it's just too busy in Sandpoint. There's too many residents now, and they will start to move operations out. So this isn't tomorrow, it's not in 5 years, but I could see changes like that occurring. So to always keep a truck route in the multimodal plan. And I guess I'm just trying to see a better vision. And maybe we do have the bypass, one of Kyle's favorite things, to get that truck route changed. So we already do have that to kind of move away from Boyer. And I think the intent of that was to try and develop that into neighborhoods. So I want us to look at the bigger picture of that. If the pole yard and the concrete were to move away, that property is worth a large sum of money. The tax increments, if different smaller, less intensive businesses that were still very commercial or industrial went in there, we would gain more tax increment from that. So I think we have to see all the pieces to this puzzle. But once those houses are built facing the wrong way, they're going to be there for 150 years. And so we're going to be stuck with what we have. So I'm strongly in favor of trying to come up with some sort of temporary solution, dipping into trail funds to widen the pathway so it could adapt to two-way traffic. Then maybe we could just get rid of the bicycle lane and do the parking and then maybe come back later as that develops. So like I said, I had a whole bunch of comments, but I do appreciate that we got exactly what we asked for. I think it's just not really what we wanted, if that makes sense.
So, Councilor Rule, the big takeaway when I was looking at this report is one, safety first and foremost, and two, the alignment with the multimodal transportation plan. And we've just have this pattern continuing that it appears that council's priorities are not in alignment with this plan. This would be one example. But, Steph, we do recommend if you're looking particularly at one of your busiest roads that you do have a cautious, holistic approach and not move too quickly. Putting parking on Boyer fundamentally on its own does not change housing orientation of a private property. There could be one developer where that might matter for them, but absent parking, those houses are welcome to Front Boyer today. I do think it's important that if we were to consider an alternative configuration to Boyer, that again, we look at our holistic truck routes and what's the safest alternative today. One challenge with having a multi-use path on one side is Boyer does function with a bike lane in the road. And so we'd have to figure out if you were headed southbound, how does a bike cross from the southbound lane to the east side when they're in a dedicated bike lane and then they have to get on a multi-use path on the other side of the street? It's doable. There's got to be a way to do it, but it's not the simplest concept. So it will take time to develop and get all those answers.
Holly, aren't we about to do a crossing there at Mountain View?
A pedestrian crossing, yes.
Okay.
My further comment to that is that true cyclists who are road cyclists putting in mileage, or anybody who's commuting is already riding those busy roads. And maybe it's not the safest thing for them, but I think that they would continue to do that because I've watched sometimes they opt to not ride the path because they want to go faster. And the road is actually faster for them in some ways. People ride out Highway 2 to Hope. And so I guess I know the perfect safety way and the perfect engineering way, but where is the balance between all those things is what I'm looking for. But I commend you. You're following exactly what we told you to do, and the multimodal plan is what we've put in place, and you can't not follow plans. But I think as we continue through our next strategic planning, I think that council's starting to realize how these conflicts are happening and what direction we need to go so that we make your job easier and knowing and having a plan to do what we're asking up here.
Yeah, and we also want to make sure we have all the data for you to make the decisions.
Council President Rule, I love where you're going and the direction here. And I think we live in a dynamic world. Our plans are important signals to what we're doing and where we're going. But I think because of how dynamic the world is, there are times when we need to consider what is best. And sometimes that might mean veering off track from a plan a little bit or modifying a plan. And I guess my question is, Holly, if we took that bike lane off the west side, that's going to free up 6 feet, shift everything over, and we added, is there a way we could add a couple feet of asphalt with path impact fees, expanding the system in that planting strip without moving that curb on the east side to, in theory, I'm not saying commit to this, but to make it all work from a safety perspective? Are you following?
I'm following. There's a number of options that could be explored under a planning effort, design effort, and dollars being spent. So there's
Yeah, Jason. go
Mayor,
ahead.
just one thing that this cross-section does not show is that there's actually about 5 feet of right-of-way east of that shared use path. So you mentioned possibly narrowing the planting strip. Not to interrupt, Polly, but
No,
just
thank you for this
technically
fact.
there's actually, unlike our sidewalks elsewhere in town, our right-of-way does not end on the edge of that bike lane that you see on that image. It extends about 5 feet further to the east. So just in response to that, there's possibility to widen that path to the east without shrinking the planting strip. That's all I wanted to say. I don't think
Thanks for that.
the diagram does not show that. So
Important piece. I guess, council, where I'm at is I think we could work with staff pretty quickly without, clearly I want to bend our multimodal plan as badly as anyone, but on this section up to Mountain View, I think there's an opportunity for us to look for a creative solution here that we can act on pretty quickly, or at least give the potential builders there some clarity that this is something that we're pursuing, if there's council interest in that.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Deb. What you said was like spot on. When this was discussed back in the fall, one of the council members who's not on the council anymore said something about that we have already gone past the point of no return and that we should just expect to have fences lining Boyer. And I did everything I could not to jump out of my seat and say, like, no, that's like, don't do that. And so I'm very near and dear to my heart, this project, and to keep this from being a fence line neighborhood. So whatever that's worth, I'm definitely fully in favor of that.
Other council discussion or comments?
Mr. Mayor, could I, sorry.
Sure.
Could I add just one piece to the discussion? When we're talking about planning our multimodal transportation plan, it is our master plans, but it's also our standard. So in Sandpoint, we do not own our roads. They are owned by the Independent Highway District. If we were to deviate from our multimodal transportation plan, we would actually have to go to IHD for their approval. We've had many conversations preliminarily with IHD. They are sounding like not supportive of having parking on Boyer, but I just want to be clear, that's one of the things that we would have to navigate, and that's what is just compounding the need to have a planning effort on this concept and not just have a small project. So I just add that piece for your consideration that there are many folks who are interested in this project and would be reviewing and actually approving according to our MOU that we have with them.
Yeah, good point. And also, I mean, south of Super One, we do have streets, homes fronting the street without parking on some portions of Park Boyer too.
We wouldn't really have to have the parking, would we?
Councilwoman Duquette, go ahead. You have some comments, thoughts?
Yeah, the parking, I was just wondering about if we would have to have. And could we anyway do 25 miles per hour like Council President Rule was saying, even now, while we're waiting to think of this? And I love the idea of the neighborhoods. That's why, like she said, we wanted this. Could you face Boyer and not have parking there? And that little bike path on the west side, that's so skinny anyway. I like to ride that a lot, but I always ride on the side with the big multi-use path because I ride up north to do an errand or something.
So the question, Councilwoman Duquette, is do we have the ability to change the speed limit on Boyer from Baldy to Mountain View?
It's a half a mile. It can't possibly impact that much of.
The recommendation by the engineer is to not reduce the speed limit due to its functionality as a freight route.
Which I'm just saying, it's only a half a mile. I don't see how that impacts the movement of goods that much is all. Because I think 25 would help that whole neighborhood feel in there, like you said, with the walking and the riding.
Other council thoughts?
Go ahead,
Councilman Driver, come on. You're being awfully quiet.
It's hard to add to what has already been said. I agree with Council President and Councilman Tate. Pretty much nailed it. The vinyl tunnel, as it's been called, is kind of the worst form of development we could possibly have, and I would very much like to see this be something more positive than that. In addition to everything that the brainstorm that has already happened, I believe that we have about $50,000 in sidewalk and lieu fees earmarked for that quadrant. I don't know what you call it, quarter section. So that's another potential funding source if we did need to, pay for restriping or, I mean, based off our division project, I'm realizing how expensive it is to move a curb a couple feet over. It's pretty expensive, but is there any way, I guess it was brought up that we could do all of this and the developer could still say, yeah, no, we're going to front our lots the other direction. Is there anything we can do from a planning standpoint to make sure that this happens the way that we want it to happen? Because I hate to go through all this effort and then have it be for naught, I guess.
Either Fonda or Bill or Jason, any thoughts?
Mr. Mayor, didn't we have a developer who asked for this?
I think Bill may be able to our Deputy Planning and Community Development Director.
Hi, good evening, Council. Bill Dean, City Planner, Deputy Director. There's going to be varying property rights along the corridor. There's a lot of properties that front Boyer. Some of them are going to be subject to a subdivision that's approved in a plat, and they're going to be vested into rules that exist today. It's going to be difficult to achieve that in a meaningful way for some of the projects that have already been through the first round of approval. This is about the power of trying to persuade the developer to see a different vision for the community. And so far, they've been very willing to listen to that. But technically, it's going to be difficult to require it on some of those properties. On others that don't have the encumbrance of an approved project, there's ways we could look at some of the zoning rules to see if there's a there. They take a little bit of time to do that. So it's kind of a mixed bag out there. Yeah. Not sure if there's anything else if that satisfies the. Yeah.
How does the no double frontage piece play into that? That's already part of our code.
It is. I'm not sure how it wasn't adhered to for some of the projects that were approved in the past. It befuddles me how those were approved. The obvious one is University, Place project subdivision.
Persuasive planner representing the project. I don't know.
Not going to take that one, but I think right now we're very clear with developers that this is what we're looking for as a city to try to create a neighborhood there. We've been doing a lot of zoning work that we're about ready to present to the Planning and Zoning Commission about ideas for the lands that abut Boyer, and I think some exciting things to think about and contemplate. And a lot of that I think can be improved if we can front onto Boyer. So all of this fits together into a nice package, which I think is consistent with the vision you've laid out in your comp plan and have discussed otherwise. So we can take a look and see what additional standards we could put in place to try to forestall some of that, but it's going to be a bit of a hopscotch approach because there are some existing approvals out there.
I will add, it's possible that because we're working on this effort and this planning effort, that might be enough for the developer to have enough confidence to move forward with planning to have his housing front Boyer.
Yeah, plus I think much like the earlier agenda item where there's a sort of a council sort of indication that there's interest to deal with a particular flavor of pesticide, people listening hopefully will take that to heart and know what we're trying to do as a community. There's still relationships in this business. It's not just super transactional all the time. It's people trying to, the development interests are varied. And in a lot of cases, it's somebody wanting to come and do something that's going to better the community and really want to listen to the council that's putting forth these rules and regulations, knowing that the processes sometimes that we have to follow aren't as fast as the development cycles and investment cycles. And we're trying to make that connection and have those conversations with those property owners and developers. Say, please, let's help each other out. So I still think there's a lot of room for that type of conversation. We're not always going to stick the landing.
Holly, just out of curiosity, are you aware of any of the directors or elected officials of the Independent Highway District are residents of Sandpoint?
Yes.
We do have some that are residents of Sandpoint.
Oh, well, their engineer is.
Yeah, no, I'm wondering about the actual elected officials.
I don't know where they live. No.
Council members, I just encourage you to educate yourself on who's on our Independent Highway District Board and look out for those elections in the future. I've heard similar things that they're not super persuaded by this more urban configuration.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
Yeah, I have a question about the truck route. So right now, the truck route runs all the way from Schweitzer Cutoff down Boyer all the way to Highway 2 at the south end, right? To Dubs. If in the future we were able to get the Baldy extension built, I think there'd be support for removing the truck route south of Baldy, but what we're talking about is north of Baldy. It occurs to me that there are some sort of industrial properties on that north side that, did I lose my mic? That would still need access to a truck route. But our code also says that local deliveries are allowable off of a truck route, right? So we could potentially remove that northern section of truck route, and those industrial properties could still have access to the access that they need. I mean, the same kind of access that downtown businesses get when they get deliveries. Is that an accurate statement, or am I?
You're correct. So, and if a truck can leave a truck route to make deliveries, and they are to use the shortest route in and the shortest route out off that route. The multimodal transportation plan kind of left off the truck routes as an effort. One of the recommendations was to look at our existing truck route and to update it, not just after the Baldy extension, but prior to the Baldy extension. So we don't have a full picture. We can make some really intelligent guesses as to how it might function, but that effort in exploring that has not taken place yet.
Excellent. And we did go through some of that in terms of getting the truck routes out of our downtown core. Would such an effort for this section that we're talking about, would that be as easy as that? Or are we talking about a whole new traffic study, and would it really take completely updating the multimodal plan in order to remove that truck route?
So staff's recommendation is to do a holistic multimodal transportation plan, or at least amendment to the multimodal transportation plan, and holistically look at that truck route versus a directive. Always making data-informed decisions.
Sure. Yeah, we don't know how many trucks turn left on Boyer from those more intense industrial uses, do we? Thanks.
Any other council discussion on this item? I think we need to get cracking on our multimodal transportation plan amendment.
I agree.
All right, moving on to new business. Thank you so much, Holly, Bill, Jason, everyone else. Good discussion. We have a couple of items under new business to round out our agenda, starting with the scheduling of the fiscal year 27 budget public hearing date. Finance Director Sarah Linz is here to present that.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Let me share my. All right, tonight before you is the scheduling a public hearing date. And that is by Idaho State Code. We are obligated to get that to the Bonner County by April 30th of each year. In the past years, we have not actually brought that to you guys. That's just been filled out. And when I was reviewing everything, I thought, you know what, that actually needs to go to you and actually be done, be approved by you guys. It is interesting looking at other cities. The only other city in the north that does this is Moscow. So we're not the only ones that we're not doing this. So, so we have that, but I thought it would be a perfect time to also look at our calendar budget, our budget calendar, and actually go through and talk through the dates that we want to do. If we want to have our meetings actually like a full day this year. In the past, since I've started in the last 8 years, we've always held all of our budget workshops during the actual council meetings. And I think there was a little bit of discussion and a little bit of talking through the budget workshops actually being a full day or a half days or whatever we decide. So I also attached to your agenda the budget calendar. And I wanted to quickly just walk through where we're at already in the budget, and then also go through some of the dates that are required by the state, especially for the new counselors on board, so you guys can kind of get an idea of what we do and then also what is required. So I'll start at the beginning, and then I'm going to go through and then actually jump to the very end so we can kind of work backwards so you can understand the dates of where we have to have things submitted. So at the very, we start actually our budget process in February. We actually set the calendar dates for the most part. Again, tonight we can actually change some of those dates. Then the divisions actually get in, and the departments and divisions get in, and they start doing their budgets in the beginning of March. And we do a budget training for all the supervisors and managers and the directors to how to use the software and how to do their budgets in the software. Those are all due to me or the finance area. Actually, it was due this last Friday on the 10th of April. At the same time that we're doing the budget, we also are doing the fees. So back in the beginning of beginning of March, all of the directors got the fee schedule to look at and to do updates on. And that actually is scheduled to come to you guys next meeting on the May 6th to set the public hearing for that, for the fees. In the past several years, I should say, forever. We normally do that at the same time we're doing the budget process. Last year, we tried to push that up and actually do that before the budget so that we can actually have agreed upon fees and the fee sets for that budget cycle. And the reason why I really push for that is due to if we don't have the fee set, it's really hard to budget in some of the revenues, especially if they're increasing. And so naturally, conservatively, if they're not adopted yet, I do more of on the conservative side. If they're already adopted and we know what they're going to be, it's much easier to predict and to put those in there at the increased or changed amount. So that will be coming to you for the budget, setting the public hearing date at the next meeting, with that public hearing being proposed for you guys on the May 20th. I'm now going to jump down to the bottom of this and work backwards. So per Idaho State Code, we are there's a few things we have to do as a city. One is publish our annual appropriations ordinance, and that is due by the end of we have to do it before the beginning of the next fiscal year. So that is due by the September 30th. That's one of our constraints. And then the other constraint is actually, and this is the big kicker that we go backwards from, is the L2s. These are our property tax that we have to submit to the county. It's certifying property taxes. That is due to the county by the second Monday in September, which is 9/10. And this has to be done, and we have to adopt our budget before we certify that L2. So working backwards from there, our very last date that we could adopt a appropriation ordinance is technically the very first meeting in September. However, I would never recommend waiting to the very last meeting. So we have always set our meetings in the past for that last meeting in August. That's always been our appropriation. And if we ever needed to, for whatever reason, we still had one more meeting that we could come back to. So I would not suggest changing that last meeting in August. But knowing that if we ever had some catastrophe or something, that we didn't have a quorum or something, that we could go and actually do it that very last meeting or that very first meeting in September and still hit all of our deadlines. So that is what we're proposing tonight, is that second meeting in August 19th. Going backwards from there, so one other thing that we are required to do is publish a proposed budget in the paper at least 7 days apart. So we have to do that 2 times, 7 days apart. Another thing that we've always done is our publishing is always on a Tuesday and our meetings are Wednesday. So technically we could publish the Tuesday before our meeting and the week before that, but we have always pushed that actually 2 weeks before that. So it's not, so we basically have 2 weeks and a couple days between that, not shoved into there, but we in theory could do that if we wanted to. So this is proposed on here too, is that we publish these in the paper on the 4th and the 11th, with the public hearing being on the 19th. When we are, and I know last year we had a little bit of the hiccups in when we were initially, and we're not adopting a preliminary budget. We are just basically you guys are approving the ability to publish in the paper the highest level budget is what is going on. So that is what, that is when we do that, and I have that proposed on here for the 7/15, that would be the last meeting before we publish on 8/4 and 8/11. Now, again, we could publish on the 8/11 and 8/18 if we really needed to. So we could actually do that meeting, the first meeting in August, if we really wanted to actually adopt, or not adopt, but agree upon the highest level and what needs to be published in the paper. So just working backwards for you to kind of see why these stack backwards and why these dates are where they're at. Here on the proposed workshops, I have on there the 7/8. That is the meeting between the first meeting in July and the second meeting in July. I did talk with all the directors, and that is the meeting. That's the meeting after the 4th of July. So this is where it kind of, and we don't have to agree upon anything tonight. We just need direction on what we want to look at and how we want to go. But that's where that's where I have a full day workshop. I'm thinking I don't know if it'll be a full day, but to me, it'll definitely be 6 hours plus, I would think, going through all those different areas. And then I have on here too, and this is the meeting that sometimes gets canceled, sometimes doesn't. So this is where also it gets kind of a little, is the 7/1 meeting. Depending on when it falls within the month. So this one is a little before the 4th, but this is what I would propose, is that we actually start doing we present the fund balances and net positions, and then to go through the CIP plan. And that actually is at a council meeting. We could also do another council workshop for that, or put it all into 7/8 and just do a full, 8-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour day, depending on what you would like there. One, I would like to point out the certified, on this line here is certified new construction rolls from the county. That is not due to the city until the 3rd Monday in July, which this year is 7/20. This is not a new one, a new rule, but this came probably about 3 years ago. It used to come to us it was probably, I would say, in June is when we would get this. We don't get this now until almost the end of July. And that makes it very, very hard, because this could be a good $70,000 difference in our general fund, depending on what those roll in at. So that is just an FYI of, again, why these dates sometimes are more towards the end of July or in July, not all the way up in May. So now I guess, and then here, what I have proposed on here also is a preliminary budget coming out before the 4th of July on the 6/25. That gives several, weeks before we actually do the budget workshops. Other than that, that is kind of the sequence of how the budget goes through and backwards, and and I want to open up, I guess, and have any discussion, any questions on this.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
Council members, just a little history. There were days when I was director here where the council would meet at noon to like 2 to go over department budgets or things like that. Council used to like doing it that way, but it's really what works best for you. So your thoughts, this pretty much mirrors what all the cities do in Idaho. Nothing special. It seems to work well. Sarah's done a lot of work looking on these dates. I do see it's an action item or motion, Sarah. So what are you looking for there? A motion to?
Yeah, the action item is just to set the actual green.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise, it could be just direction that I go and make more dates, depending on what you guys feedback and present, or bring back another calendar with different dates.
Discussion, council? Council President Rule?
I guess my comment would be about sort of that workshop budgeting process piece. I know my brain, and probably a half day is all that it's going to be able to take in, with a lot of numbers and different things going around. So even if we did part of a day on Wednesday, the same day of a meeting, and then we had, a 2-hour break to go eat dinner with our families or get exercise and then come back for council to do more. I, I think that would be way more effective for me than trying to do that in a full day, 6-hour push, because I'm going to lose a lot of the detail. And so I don't know, that would just be or even splitting it up, and saying, okay, 4 hours is enough. So.
Would you like to do it on the same day, like you said, mentioned on the same days as council? Like 2 of those?
I'd like to hear what the rest of the council says, but I mean, I could do 3 hours and maybe take a 2-hour break and then come back for a council meeting or something like that. Wednesdays relative, I don't know what everybody else's work schedule is, but Wednesdays are a lot easier for me to move around from 1 o'clock on. So,
Yeah, and council, I mean, this is really the most intensive commitment that, in my opinion, that you have all years, just to get through these workshops. So what are the rest of your thoughts?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. I like the idea, what Deb said. I think if possible, to keep those agendas more on the light side. We don't have any big bangers where we have hundreds of people in here complaining about something or whatever have you. So they have a right to complain. But if we can keep that schedule lighter, I think that'd be great.
So what I'm hearing is you prefer to do them during regular council meetings?
Yeah,
but just
split up
feel
like the council.
Or maybe a 2-part council meeting, start early, take a break for a couple hours, come back.
that's kind of what I said, maybe
Yeah.
we go from 1 to 3 or 1 to 4, get some of it out of the way, go home, eat dinner, take a break with our families, and then come back. And I would, as you said, unless there's something that's an absolute that needs to be on the agenda beyond the consent calendar, is just try to keep it strictly budget.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilwoman Duquette?
So Deb, do you think you do that more than one council meeting? Because one isn't gonna.
I'd leave that up to, I mean, maybe if we have one afternoon in a council meeting, then we can finish it all up in just a council meeting after that. And so it's only one afternoon in addition to it. I mean, I'm not sure where we get.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Plan as we go.
Or a morning. I would rather do that than have 2 hours, too many days, because blocks everything. that you
Maybe
have.
start on the 1/7 on the July 1st, sorry, and do before the council meeting, do that for like 1 to 4, and then see where we get and see where it's at after that.
I mean, they're gonna love the budget, Sarah. They're gonna probably not have any changes, so.
That's reasonable, doable for me, something along that.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Tate,
I like it. Sounds good.
Wednesday, start early and then take a break.
Yeah,
Councilman
I
Torres?
can work my schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Excellent. So you do need a motion to set that public hearing date, 8:15, did you say?
The only thing we need is just to do set the public hearing date. That's the calendar thing I can
Yep.
also.
So the motion specifically is establish public, what was it? I'm sorry. Do you guys have a motion?
Is there a motion there?
Make a motion to schedule the fiscal year 2027 budget public hearing date
Second.
for
Or August 8th, 19th,
August
19th.
19th, 2027.
Motion by Council President Rule,
Second.
second by Councilman Schreider.
Oh, it says, for the 27 budget. Sorry, my brain went a little askew.
I think got that. Motion by Councilwoman Rule, second by Councilman Schreiber. Any discussion? This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Counselor Duquette?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Counselor Spiro?
Yes.
Counselor Rowe?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The final item on the agenda, requested by Councilman Schreiber, is on the heritage tree categories and definition. I now give the floor to Councilman Schreiber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all for sticking around and indulging me on this. And I want to thank the clerk's office for helping me get this on the agenda. I know it was a bit of an ask, so appreciate the hard work. So a little bit of backstory. Those of you who are on council probably remember that in the days leading up to adopting the most recent comprehensive plan, we had significant public interest in trees and specifically heritage trees. There was some folks who felt that we shouldn't move forward with the comprehensive plan until we had a heritage tree definition that we could put into the comprehensive plan. Ultimately, we decided to go ahead and update the plan with the understanding that the definition would be forthcoming. You may or may not know that the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission is also the chair of the Urban Forestry Commission. And so that became pretty much the very first item that they took up once the commission was restarted in January of 2025. There's the agenda report I put together, lists a few spots in the comprehensive plan where we have language that supports heritage trees, and we have an existing ordinance, the Sandpoint Urban Forestry Ordinance, which was added to code in 2008. In that code, it directs the Urban Forestry Commission to select heritage trees based off of the criteria in the Arboricultural Manual. However, the Arboricultural Manual has no mention of heritage trees whatsoever. So this is somewhat of a little bit of a cleanup of our existing code to just patch where it sends you on a wild goose chase to a place where that doesn't exist. But it's also a response to significant public interest. Our community made it very clear that they value our trees and want to see progress on the heritage trees. So the Urban Forestry Commission spent virtually every meeting in 2025 coming up with these definitions, and on November 21st, 2025, they voted unanimously to approve them and recommend them to council. And so I put together just a quick red line of our existing code, which basically just strikes out based on the criteria in the Arboricultural Manual and says instead based on the following criteria, which are the 5 potential definitions that the Urban Forestry Commission approved and recommended. The other change was just it said tree committee in our code, and it's actually called the Urban Forestry Commission. So that was the other change. I'm absolutely open to discussion on better ways to do that, but that's how we got where we are.
Thank you, Councilman Schreiber. What I'm hearing is we're ready and you're advancing this. That's great. I assume you're agreeable to just moving through staff and the new communication policy for department review and feedback. So as I follow, we just tee this up for a future agenda, near-term agenda item, have the staff do their reviews, comments, et cetera, and then bring it as a potential ordinance change to the city, to the council for hearing. Is that,
yeah,
that's what you're looking for? Great.
Yeah. Does anybody have any other?
I had one question. It says based on the following criteria on 7/15/13, is that one of those criteria? Would it have to be 2 or more? Does it have to be all 5? For instance, if a tree is not rare, but it has the other 4, would that meet? Do you know, or is that something we should just wait for staff to flush out and advise on?
I can say the intention of the Urban Forestry Commission was for it to be just one, not all of.
Okay. And then just a follow-up question is, do you know, and I apologize for not following, is the idea, there's no suggestion that this is going to affect private property trees, is there? Or?
Yeah, we're not making any changes to the way it affects private property. We're not, the only thing we're changing in code is the criteria for what is considered a heritage tree. We're not making any changes to how it would affect private
Okay, so
property at all.
if you have a big, beautiful heritage tree on your private property, this wouldn't encumber you by having it designated? as a private property owner?
Not in any way that was not already envisioned when this code was passed in 2008. Cool. I can't comment on what their expectation was.
Gotcha. Awesome. Any other council? Maybe from my perspective, we
I do.
send this through the works, the new communication policy, and it comes back to us as a staff reviewed, legal reviewed amendment to the ordinance, and we have a hearing and
Mr.
you
Mayor,
make your vote. Councilwoman Duquette.
I would suggest we put or after every one of those because it is one,
Gotcha.
just one. So after.
You could also to based on any one of the following.
Okay,
criteria.
either way, I think we should make it clear that you only have to do one. I also wonder just about, age, size, health, some kind of examples of what is, I don't know how concise they could do that, just because they're pretty broad characteristics, except for maybe 5 and 4. I don't know.
Yeah, I think staff will
Age,
probably
size, health.
provide some pretty good thoughts on that. I mean, I see the same thing on number 4, significant grove. What is a
Right.
grove? Is it 1? Is it 3? Is it 7?
A little bit more.
Is it 9?
And then I do have one issue about, it does say protection of public and private heritage trees. I'm wondering if we could have staff with agreement come up with some sort of parameters or a permit that might require a notice regarding a suspected heritage tree, something we can put in building codes or something or they're permitting, like, do they have a heritage tree? There's just no parameters on how that works. So I think we need a process or standards to help with protecting a tree, even if it's on private property.
Yeah, I believe staff is aware of the City of Moscow's program, which is a voluntary inclusion of your tree.
Kind of where I was
So,
going.
Trevor has some thoughts, or maybe Deb?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. This was envisioned as the very first step in a much larger update of this Sandpoint urban forestry ordinance, as well as defining everything that you're talking
Okay.
about, creating a process because you're right, this code is kind of lacking.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm sure staff can do that.
Well, I would, if there's no other discussion, entertain a motion to put this on a near-term agenda and run it through the new communication policy for staff review and legal review and preparation for a hearing and an ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, I
Council
don't
President.
think people were finished with their
No,
comment.
I was gonna move it.
Oh, you were going to move it.
Thank
Well, I had a comment.
Oh,
I
go
would
ahead,
just
yeah.
wanted to say that appreciate your hard work and the Forestry Commission, and I'm looking forward to this going to staff and being cleaned up and also through the legal process to make sure anything that we're doing in there is appropriate and doesn't leave the city in any takings or liability issues. And that's all.
I'm looking forward to being on the Urban Forestry Commission finally, starting next week.
Good.
And shaking it up a little bit maybe and
Shake.
guiding it, and hopefully we can get some more things going on with our trees because they're important, so.
They are.
Was there a motion?
I think that's what he wanted to do. Go ahead.
So moved.
Make a motion to pass.
To move, I think the motion is to advance this heritage tree definition to the communication policy and bring it back for a public hearing and ordinance amendment.
So moved.
Second that.
Moved by Tate, second by Torres. Roll call vote.
Counselor Rowe?
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Counselor Torres?
Yes.
Counselor Duquette?
Oh, a resounding yes.
Counselor Sparrow?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
With no further business before the city, it's 8:23. The meeting's adjourned.